back, everyone, to the World 2023 play-in stage. Today, we'll be wrapping up the lower brackets, starting with a round one rematch between LLL and GAM to find out who will move on to the advancement match and who will be eliminated. As a reminder, as Ashin taught us yesterday, losing equals defeat. I'm Quickshot, joined by Gulborg and Raz. Two teams advance, two teams get eliminated. GB, are you hyped to send some people home today?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to send people home. I love watching the Olympics where they swim, and that's kind of what we have here, you know.
Swim home if you lose.
I mean, that's what we're expecting of BDS, right?
Very hard for BDS. That's a lot further. I think it's
Maybe
a lot
they
further.
can catch up to Golden Guy.
Listen, there are two more.
I saw how slow they were. They can overtake him.
Raz, two more best of three today. Set up the two advancement matches. What you can see on your screen is the entire bracket. Just as a reminder, the two teams in the upper bracket will face the opposite group's members in the lower bracket. I believe we have a graphic to show you that right now. Team Wales will be playing either GAM or Loud, whoever wins in our first series. PSG will be playing the Flying Oysters or BDS, whoever wins in our second series. Raz, what do you make of the matchups?
I mean, I love it so far. It's something that I remember, I think I saw it on Twitter, just someone mentioning that it could just be the rematch of the finals for both BCS and BCS. Yes, exactly. So that for me is going to be a big one. I am looking at BDS in particular. Sure, they've had some ups and downs, but I think they'll have a good showing.
I also love the other end of it, which is now that Loud is going up against only the rest of Vietnam to qualify to the Swiss stage. That means that is a CBLOL that has to conquer the VCS to make it to the Swiss.
Brazil versus Vietnam.
And the same end on the other side of the bracket, where it's Europe against the PCS. So it's just region pinned up against region now.
Now, just so you guys are aware, yesterday, Ender predicted BDS losing because he wanted to see the PCS matchup. He predicted Loud losing because he wanted to see the VCS. So Ender's just here to watch the world burn. Before we get into the matchups, I thought it would be fun to have a little bit of a history rundown. As the representative old man of every broadcast ever, I wanted to take you back to a magical moment for the CBLOL, for Brazil. I do this for Kaboom! When they took down Alliance, Tinowns was on that roster. Arguably the first tick, the first win, the first milestone for the emerging regions versus the major regions, but it didn't stop there.
It makes you a believer, right? That one was one thing that hurt the hearts of a lot of European fans.
Myself included.
Yeah. I'll talk about one team that hurt the hearts of me as an LPL fan, and it was INTZ that upset EDG in 2016. That one killed me. That one shook things up quite a bit, and made it a lot more interesting within the booths. Yes. The boys, Revolta, Yang, Talkers, Macau, like that team was so amazing to see. There's right now actually still content creators, so a lot of respect to them right now. They're probably watching Worlds right now, seeing their faces on the screen.
But I really also think it's a contrast to the kind of Loud that we have now, because before then it was really just about beating these single teams and that was a success. Yeah. Now you actually have opportunities to make a successful story of your run, and that's not just huge for the region of CBLOL, that's huge for Loud. That has become such a resurgence in Brazil, now 3 times back-to-back, taking the title there as well, making it to the internationals. This is a trajectory that's just going up, and once again, not just for CBLOL, but for Loud specifically. That's such a social media phenomenon as well.
For the region, and for anybody that has watched international events, pretty much MSI in Worlds was represented by one Brazilian team, and then it would change the next year, and it would change the next year, and it would change the next year. You know, we've had Red Canids, we've had Flamenco, we've had Loud, we've had Pain. Every year changed. Now we've had Loud 3 years in a row. So see what they can do. Obviously, they've got tough matches ahead of them. Let's turn our attention to the other side of the bracket, because the PCS, they've been able to punch above their weight, I think, quite regularly. I think MSI 2021, the semifinals, is a good example of that. And I think, Gulborg, when we look at the PCS and sort of the #1 representatives, they've tended to always been better than the rest of the emerging regions, but still sort of struggled against sort of the major regions.
Yeah, I think that's at least the testimony in the most recent years, right? Because as you said, in 2021, they did make it to the semifinals and had a deep run. But then after that, it's kind of become this thing where PCS is regarded better than the rest of the play-ins teams. Yeah. But once they make it to the Swiss stage, or actually main stage or the other times, they just struggle. But it now finally feels like there's always this threat about a PCS team where if they just get the right roster, the right members together, they can always make a deep run. And that's the hope you always have for this region.
It's funny. Every group draw, it's the same thing. They see a PCS team drawn into their group and they think, oh, this one should be easy, right? Yeah. I remember seeing the 100 Thieves one last year, and then they dropped the game to CFO. That stuff tends to happen. So I love the fact that you mentioned PSG. That was when they had Maple on the roster last with River. interestingly enough, where they went to the semifinals. There are multiple moments, multiple teams that did this. 2019 in Europe, where J-Team actually took Game 1 off of the eventual world champions and LPL first seed in FPX. We saw this from PSG, actually, if I remember correctly. I'm thinking this one through. Oh yeah, actually, it was the same one you mentioned. But mostly from the group stage, because people were sleeping on them, but they beat down MAD. C9 didn't qualify going to the next round because of their success, so I'm always excited to see them play.
Let me speedrun Vietnam very quickly because I think raise your ruffalos for Phong Vu Buffalo. The demon of G2. GAM, they also eliminated Top Esports last year. I think the VCS, in my head, I always think of them as like a one-team region. I always kind of have this feeling that it's the #1 seed that makes dents and makes impacts. I think GAM, especially back when they were still called Gigabyte Marines, for example, that was the team that really, like, you know, made a mark, shall we say, for VCS.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily true for the actual region itself. Now, Team Secret could have easily been here as well if you watched the VCS playoffs back. But also, if you think back to 2021 at that MSI, they couldn't even send their first seed when they finally qualified back after COVID. They sent their second seed at the time. And I think we have this pre-notion of GAM now, specifically because of what happened at MSI when they lost to R7, how weak they looked. But then Team Wales came in here, and thank God for the format we had. Because if we did not have the format, I saw the Reddit comments, I saw social media, they were just, why is VCS having 2 seeds? And I kind of got it from the first day. But you kind of need to temper your expectations a bit and see for the rest of the tournament as well. And that's kind of what Team Wales showed then moving forward. And specifically this format, they are just really good.
I want to talk a little bit more about VCS in a moment or two, but let's get to the pre-match. And in today's first series, it's an explosive rematch in that bottom lane, as the Penta Kings, Root and Slayder, are facing off in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. In today's featured matchup, presented by Mercedes-Benz, we have 2 teams hungry to prove themselves. This showdown between Loud and GAM Esports will determine who moves on to face the surprise team of the play-in stage, Team Wales. On day 1, Loud's Root demolished Slayder in the 1v1 and managed to secure a penta.
Finally, they go in under the turret, and it's going to be a pentakill for Roush!
He's looking to deliver CBLOL to the Swiss qualification best of 5. Slayder was promised to be the VCS shining AD carry, and yesterday he delivered with his own pentakill.
It's a quadra kill for Slayder! Pentakill for Slayder! But it's a league of pentakills here in the play.
It's up to him to prove that he can stand up to Root in the repeat matchup this time. Who will carry on the hopes of their region, and which team will emerge victorious? We're going to find out in just a moment. Just before we continue, can I ask everyone to please say thank Penta Penguin. That's 3 for 3, all 3 pentakills by Oshin. I'm not jealous at all. Root versus Slayder. This is, again, a rematch from that round 1. Root definitely got the better end of the deal in the first time these 2 teams match up. I think Slayder has looked better. I think the whole team has. But, I mean, my expectations are still that Root has the advantage coming into Game 1.
Yeah, better deal, or is he just straight up the better player? Because that's what it looked like when they were playing against each other the first time. And that's also what I believe. I think there's a big mismatch in the bot lane. I think Slayder, even going up against R7 where he did improve, he was still outclassed by the likes of Root when he was on that Kaiser. And I think that's where there's going to be struggles today.
What I love about Root, to your point, is that he trusts his instincts. Day 1, a lot of people nervous. He just goes and tests the limit pretty consistently. But I have a lot more faith in Slayder this time around. Yes, worse competition when they went up against R7, but I thought his team fighting was much more better. I thought their draft actually helped him out quite a bit, and the team really supported him in team fights. So set up for success, and he himself was just straight up playing better. So I think this is going to be a little bit closer going into this series.
Yeah, but now the thing is, I need to see what sort of impact that mentality or that first series defeat will have on GAM, because they did have a Game 2 that was better, but take a look at the stats here for Slayder individually, right? Versus Loud versus R7, it is day and night. Damage per minute is up. His CSD is better. His average goal difference is better. But obviously, when you're getting dumpstered losing like 1v2s to a Kaiser, you're going to have very bad stats.
Yeah, you know, obviously, and I think they look better. You're winning the team here. But I was asking the stat team as well, what about the damage here? Because obviously, you're better as an AD carry here.
Yes.
It was actually lower in the win, which also meant that the rest of the map for GAM stepped up in that instance. A lot came out from Kati, if you remember his Syndra as well, with a lot of the scatters, right? So I'm curious to see if it's just going to be a Slayder thing or something where the rest of the map was going to have to step
GB,
up.
I'm going to channel my social media, my Reddit voice. GAM got destroyed by Loud. GAM were embarrassed by Loud. Loud were so much, a million times the better team. respond.
But I think that would be the comment if you had only watched Game 1. I think a lot of people forget about Game 2, where GAM was actually leading this game. They were up 5k. This mid-dive in specifically, I think it's like 20 minutes into the game, around that, they pick up Baron after this. When you watch this in-game, you think to yourself, okay, the game is over. There's no way Loud will come back in this. Then they have Baron, and then GAM starts sieging. You look at the map state right now. Kiaya is still in the river on the Renekton, where he's going to be TPing in the bit, but there's no setup. Top lane's not pushed in. Mid lane's not pushed in. It's Slayder getting caught when they're sieging, and all of a sudden, they lose this game just because of one of these overextensions. And that's something that's been plaguing GAM for a long time. You can take a look at the post-game breakdown. Look at the goal graph. This is a game that should have been won. This series was a lot closer than people maybe will get credit
Game 1
to.
was a blowout in Game 2.
Yes, and this is where I hope the GAM have improved.
And even in the blowout, it really stemmed from bot lane, as we've seen through all of the replays, where Kiaya was stomping through top lane. And they were, if this was a much more standard game, it would have been fine for GAM, and they would have actually had a lead in the first 8 minutes. But that, of course, that's where our eyes do go bot lane, because it feels like that's another terrible spot. And even in the win that they had versus R7, the only thing I'm looking at is Levi. Levi's early game was a little bit troublesome.
Before we dive into Levi's position, I want to go back to the top lane, because something that has caught my eye, especially when we were preparing for today, was watching back the VODs. In my head, I just have a pretty blanket statement. Kiaya is better than Robo. And I just want to validate that. Like, if I were to say that outright, how would you respond? We got stats on the screen that are going to help back me up, but what do you see from the gameplay side of things, Raz?
It's understandable. And I think, I will say, Levi is helping out Kiaya a lot more while Robo is on an island, and that's kind of his role. But there's a lot of faith in Kiaya. You talk to the coaching staff, there's a reason for that. For Robo, he's actually having a lot of trouble around counter picks around Renekton. If he's picking Renekton, then he's feeling pretty troubled by the Kennen and Rumble counter picks. And guess what Kiaya is playing? He's playing the Rumble, and honestly, this was actually the first sight that we saw in Game 1 where he dumpstered Robo in this one. So I want to see a little bit more support for Robo early, getting him the Rumble, the Renekton pick, because he doesn't want to play the Rumble and Kennen. If he has Olaf, fantastic, but teams have been banning that away from him.
Absolutely, and you know, it was something that PSG was kind of abusing against Loud as well, where they kept playing off towards the top side. Robo, traditionally speaking, didn't get too many resources, even in some of the best performances he had. You think back to the NA 1v2 he had in CP LoL.
That's true.
He did not have a good laning phase. He was behind in that laning phase, and they came back by team fighting, which is what Loud does. But against better teams as well, where if you give them the early game, they will take it into the late game. That's where Loud starts struggling then if they cannot get ahead on even footing, and that's where Robo needs to stabilize. I think it's really curious. I was joking even with producers backstage as well that the feature match of the day should be Kiaya versus Slayder, because that's where I find the mismatch in this game.
Okay, so hang on. I want to build on that in a second, and I want to first just check in with the fans at home, who they are predicting to win in our MasterCard fan predictions. Each day you can head over to @MasterCardGG on X to participate. Loud have got 68.9% of the vote. GAM 31.1%. I do think Brazil and CBL is a little bit more of a Twitter, X region, whereas to my knowledge, GAM BCS is a little bit more like Facebook oriented. But now we need to see, will this actually show up? Do you favor Loud and GAM? As this will disappear, I'm going to ask production to bring some drafts up on screen.
Yes.
So I want to hear about this mismatch. That top is going to be favoring GAM. Obviously, bot we think is favoring Loud. How do you think that'll play on the game? How do you think that'll play on the draft? I don't want to see Mel fight again. Let's get rid of that. But Raz, I'll come to you first.
That one is, the nasty one. Because this one is really confusing. So the Rumble pick, this is in Game 2 where they felt like they couldn't pick Rumble because of the Kennen and Rumble counter pick. And then when you go into 5, he's like, let me pick for team comp. You see a Kennen, and then generally this is pretty heavy AP. Just really rough, and so he ended up getting dove, already was behind prior to that, and he was getting bullied for the rest of the game. This one, I think, is a little bit closer to where I should see them, regrettably, because of the limited champion pool that he has.
So let me focus you. We've got a minute to go. Right?
Fair.
From what we've seen, what do you want to see, and who do you think will win?
If Rumble is picked or is available, I want it to be picked by Loud. Unfortunately, I do favor GAM this time around. I think they are playing much better and are slowly getting comfortable within the tournament. So I'd say it's going to be 2-0.
Ooh, leaning towards GAM. What do you make of this?
I think there's no way this is going to be a 2-0. I think they're way too shaky in the late game for me specifically. Draft specifically, I don't know. I think they're going to be more stable on the top side. Slayder might go and grab the Saya again for himself and then hopefully play a better matchup. I think GAM this time around will have a better edge, specifically from what I saw in that Game 2. I think the Game 1, it should never happen again when Route just takes over, and hopefully they're more stable. I can see GAM take it 2-1. I want to manifest the VCS rematch of the finals.
With 25 seconds to go, if if GAM win top and Loud win bottom, surely that means the series is favored for Loud.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I would
yes?
agree with that.
So you still want to manifest VCS. Okay, I'm with Raz on this one because he agreed with what I'm landing on.
Oh, okay,
that
there
does
we
it
go.
from
I
us
like
here at
this.
the desk. We've got a Loud and a GAM prediction. That does it. It's time to head over to LOL Park for Loud versus GAM.
Acho que a derrota é bem importante assim para você conseguir evoluir, não só como profissional, mas como ser humano também. Então eu sinto que o nosso grupo, quando a gente perde, a gente se junta, a gente fica mais unido do que a gente era. Eu sei que a gente ainda não tá fora.
Pentakill for Slayder!
Tới lúc Pentakill thì cũng có hơi vui, nhưng mà mục tiêu hiện tại của bản thân em cũng như là GAM là chiến thắng và mọi thứ khác không quan trọng, và chỉ cần chiến thắng thôi.
Jogar com a GAM de novo acho que vai ser bem desafiador. Eu sinto que eles estavam pouco nervosos quando eles jogaram contra a gente, principalmente no primeiro jogo.
When the chips were down and their backs were against the wall, again Loud find their pick.
Theo em đánh giá thì Lao có những tuyển thủ khá là tốt. Theo em nghĩ thì nếu như mà bản thân em và GAM thể hiện đúng thực lực của chính mình thì GAM sẽ chiến thắng trước Lao.
Enquanto a gente estiver de pé, a gente vai continuar lutando, sem medo.
Vamos todos dar nosso melhor.
Pentakill for Crowny! And they find themselves a date with CFO.
The Korean solo queue really improved me. I think my laning improved, my mechanics improved. I played against a lot of pros from SCK.
首先，我们的选手就可能心态都特别好啊，就输了也不会有什么气氛之类的，然后就大家一起检讨之后的比赛要怎么打，然后也检讨那场输的时候该怎么继续做得更好，这是我们团队强的部分吧。
People who have way more worlds experience than me told me the most important thing, really try to stay connected as a team and keep your trust in each other.
印象是后期我们整个团队的默契都配合比他们好，然后就整个团队打起来都像一个团队，对这个印象很深刻。
From now on, every game matters. Every game could be our last one. So I'm just giving it my all, trying to play with confidence, with no regrets.
如果我想清楚，应该没有那么难处理。
CFO, good luck in our next match, but make no mistake, we are going to win.
Hello and welcome to the Caster Desk for this incredible series between Loud and GAM. I'm Dracos. This is my brother from another father. Different moms. Actually, different moms, same. Different moms, same dad. It's complicated how exactly we're related.
But we found each other in the casting
booth. Been talking about family history today. You're not going to learn any of that. You're going to learn about League of Legends instead.
No 23andMe.
No 23andMe, baby. Just World's 23andMe.
Ooh.
And Mark C. Hey, let's go. Getting ready for this game. Not sure what to expect here. The desk, a bit divided on what to expect. The fans clearly very much in favor of Loud. Doesn't surprise me that much given the ex-presence from Brazil.
Yeah, a lot of Brazil fans, and of course they did win the first matchup on day one, which gives them a bit of a leg up in a lot of people's estimations, but I think that was a very poor showing from GAM from what we can expect from them. I think maybe day one nerve, something like that, and they looked better. Still not fully confident in them to win the series based off yesterday's showing, but it was at least a step up. Slayder looked a lot better. He was someone who had a really rough day one when people were expecting him to have a good showing.
Yeah, well, he did ultimately, you know, one of the Penta Kings, as Quickshot called him, playing like a popper in some of those moments. Highly questionable in a meta that so far has seemed very defined, at least plans as a whole, very defined by how good your AD carry is, outside of, you know, some of the cheeky Adam games where he's been able to take over. It's been a lot about these Kai'Sa Zayas, as is usually the case when they're in the meta. So curious to see what will happen as we jump into picks and bans. What are they going to ban away? What will they take away? Will we see any Ezreal today? I hope not.
Nope. Especially for BDS fans coming later in the day, they don't want to see that. I think Ezreal's priority, what will happen, is when Ruler gets on the stage and plays Ezreal, suddenly people will be like, wow, this champ's busted. But we'll see. That's for another time.
A tale as old as time, my friend. Everyone convinced they can play a champion because they see someone just so casually dominate on stage with it. Very rarely actually the case. Bans for now, nothing too crazy. Poppy, Renekton, Jax, a lot of top lane focus, which does make a decent amount of sense. You heard again on the desk, discrepancy between the top laners, Kiaya and Robo. Robo had a surprisingly good series. Not a guy that I look at on this team outside of obviously the overwhelming positive fan sentiment in his favor. When you look at the carries of this team, it's much more about route, but maybe he can look to replicate some of his more impressive performances.
Yeah, I think Robo has some of that burger flip energy that you can sometimes see out of Adam as well. You know, the top laners who sometimes just go absolutely off and carry a game by themselves. Sometimes they let it get a little away from them. And I think the Renekton ban is interesting coming out of Kiaya because I think it's kind of saying, I think I have a deeper champion pool. I think Renekton is very, very powerful in the current meta. I know some people are not thrilled when they see it because there's just that lingering crocodile hatred for some reason. I personally think he's a very, very strong pick. But this time around, Xayah.
Yeah, Xayah, unsurprising. Question is, what is the option on the opposite side? Wouldn't be surprised to see Rakan at this point. You could wait on your AD, but since you're probably picking Kai'Sa anyway, just slam it. Rakan plus jungler would be my guess, since there's no rush to pick your support or your AD at this point.
Yeah, the Rakan takeaway feels like a must. We have seen a couple games now where people do not do it and are swiftly punished. Okay, unkillable Xayah and Rakan with absolutely free escapes.
You know, why would you let two strong characters be even stronger together? Why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense.
You maybe didn't want to win that game.
That's fair. You never know.
Sometimes you just pass on the
We
wins.
talk a lot in competition about how both sides want to win. We rarely talk about the...
How certain are you of that
how
statement?
Certain are you?
When
Am
you
I
make that
sure?
statement, that's an assumption.
Don't you just wake up sometimes and go, I want to lose? Based on solo queue, I would guess that a lot of League of Legends players do wake up and say that to themselves. But maybe that's overly pessimistic for now.
The Doomer cast
Kai'Sa.
checking in.
Yeah, the absolute nihilism. The cast. Nothing matters.
Yeah, you can pick that, or you could just like not.
Or you could just not.
You could go to bed.
You could just not lock in a champion and get kicked out and have to wait for 6
Get
minutes.
out of Korea, go home, lay down.
Anyway, yeah, so Kai'Sa Rakan, as expected, responding with jungle support on the opposite side. Again, Nautilus Lee Sin pretty standard. Lee Sin a champion who, as always in the history of Lee Sin, can be pretty feast or famine. I'm concerned a bit for Croc because, again, it feels like one of the more unreliable components of the Loud formula, but a champion who, if you do show up, if you do pop off, can obviously be game defining.
He's a big vibe champion. I think if you're confident playing well, you can style on people, and Levi has played the Lee Sin as well a couple times, so maybe also a bit of a takeaway there. The jungle meta feels a little in flux. I think people know Maokai is strong, and you have...
No. Continue your point.
Okay.
I held up my hands like I was going to say something because I have a follow-up to your statement. Please
Okay, so
continue.
I was just going to say, it feels like the power rankings might flip around in the future. I think Lee Sin can be strong. Jarvan is you know, one of these pick ban champions, but now seems to be dropping in priority as the early stages have progressed. Are you going to lean more to the skirmishy ADs or just fall back to tanks like Sejuani and Rel and Maokai in the future? It doesn't seem clear to me quite yet.
Yeah, and I will say that historically, at least from my memory, jungle is often the fakest champion pool in plans. We see a lot of creativity there. We see a lot of, you know, left hooks, a lot of things coming out of nowhere that disappear entirely once we head to Swiss or groups, obviously, in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised to see drastic changes as we do kind of step up to that higher level of competition. But for now, Lee Sin has looked solid. J4, the other big one, not surprised to see it banned away. The Spear of Shojin build, dumb.
Feels really good. I played it yesterday in our game.
Yeah. Just endlessly EQing. Should he have EQ'd out at some point into the
We don't
turbo
talk
fed
about that
phase?
play.
No. He didn't want to. He just kept EQing, just forward, endlessly. Brain off. That's all you play J4. And it's damn strong. If you haven't played it, haven't tried it out yourself, even on 1320, get out there and do it. Live your best life. But Nico getting a banned away as well. Mid lane focus here. Olaf, I guess, to shut down a potential option into the Cassante.
Yeah, Robo played a fair amount of Olaf at MSI as well. It was one of his better performing champions. Him and Broken Blade were making that thing look disgusting in plans of MSI. So maybe a little bit of a scar tissue from that series that GAM had against Loud back in the day.
Yeah, and I think if you are GAM and you can kind of, you know, maybe cut out some of these crazy variables, Kiaya is overall the player that you would favor in the top lane 1v1. So take away kind of the crazier options. Take away the champions who can disrupt the status quo. Olaf is one of them. Vi also going to hit the bench. So really just trying to limit reliable engage options for Levi.
Don't worry, there's more in the tank.
Oh, man. All right, Nocturne going in. Against his eye is always going to be a bit tricky. I like having the Nocturne, the Kai'Sa together. Nocturne obviously lacks immediate reliable CC to set the Kai'Sa up, but when you have a Rakan as well, going to be tough for Route to play the game, and Route was the standout player, bar none. Very clear to anyone watching the game, this is the guy that you want to shut down, and now GAM certainly have the tools to do it.
Yeah, he has the first pentakill of Worlds, already at the 3+. Everyone is crying if they didn't select that for their pick'ems. And the Levi Nocturne is one of the greatest games of League of Legends ever played. If you go back to, I think it was like Season 6 when he busted out the super fast clear.
Oh no! So that was we were in Wuhan, and it was I want to say 2017.
2017.
It was Levi, correct? Yeah, he was level 6. Everyone else on the map was level 4
or 5.
Bot lane wandered in with Galio to help him clear.
Big mistake.
Wild times. That was a very fun era for GAM. That was the initial rise of GAM.
Yeah,
a lot of those crazy strategies.
And the VCS as a whole was this region that was unbelievably bloodthirsty, that was creative, and had the mechanical skill to pull those off. Yep. I think if they ever make a League of Legends, Hall of Fame history, greatest moments of LoL esports, that game needs to be in there as one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm constantly impressed by the innovation that can come out of the VCS. I don't think we're getting quite as much of it. Tristana would have been interesting. Tristana Kai'Sa, obviously the premier double AD composition, was hit pretty heavily coming into Worlds, just between nerfs on both champions as well as Ivern getting taken down a peg a little bit. But now instead we have the Victor, who I'm going to be honest, doesn't fit into this composition at all. Victor says, please come to me. Everyone else on GAM says, let's get in there. So a bit awkward and Loud. I think a much more stable, much more balanced composition in terms of what they want to be doing.
I think it might be the first Victor of Worlds as well, if I'm not mistaken. I might have missed one, but I think this is the first time we've seen him locked in. And he is a little bit lower down the priority list of control mages that most people see. Orianna taken off the table, but most people would assume you go Azir next.
Sure.
You can play Azir into Ahri, maybe Victor, slightly better individual matchup, but like you said, the mid to late game team fighting for the Victor is going to consist of press R and put it on the target that we're trying to kill and hope it goes forward enough, because you do not have the easiest tools to follow up on Nocturne, Cassante, Rakan, Kai'Sa.
And if you are in a situation where people do come into you as Victor, Victor is really fantastic. When you're ahead, he often feels sort of like this almost bruisery mage, given how many little movement speed steroids, the shielding that you get coming in from the Q. He can be very powerful. It's just so rarely in pro play do we see that situation take place. There are 3 melee champions on the enemy team. There is a world where the Victor can pop off, but we're just going to have to see what it does. In the meantime, on the opposite side, you've got great setup. It's not a Lazaya. You know what you're getting. It's Ahri in the mid game with Charms alongside a Lee Sin. Early to mid game is going to be explosive. Is it going to be enough, though? Because once this Nocturne gets online, it's something we're going to have to keep track of. Remember, this is do or die series. We're going to move ahead to a best of 5 tomorrow. Does have the luxury of best of 3. Can't afford to lose a game, but want to come out swinging.
Elimination day, game 1. Loud versus GAM. I'm excited to see if they can pull it off. You can hear a lot of support, I think, for Loud, if I can understand that crowd chant.
Let's just, hold on. Yeah, is that Loud? Yeah, no, that's Loud.
Yep, definitely Loud. They show up. At MSI, the Brazilian crowd was going crazy behind us, bringing a ton of energy compared to when other regions were playing.
Yeah, and I will always respect that level of fandom. We're going to see for a brief moment. On to spam with some voice lines. All right, no one. All right, what? Anybody? No? All right, no one's going to kill each other. And as a reminder, of course, if you want to earn exclusive Worlds 2023 like icons and emotes, you can log in and watch the games on lolesports.com. It's got some cool functionality, some stats on the side you can watch as well. So, cool platform. Get rewarded for watching on it. And now, as we look back in on the game, still no one has killed each other, which is a bit disappointing.
Shocking. Cowardly gameplay.
As a play-by-play, I look forward to one thing and one thing only, and it is teams fighting for very little reason.
I also agree, so I do not need to comment on anything. I just leave you to go. I'll go take a lap around the building. You handle this never-ending team fight.
Yeah. Instead, I guess we could talk about strategy.
Champions,
scaling. Lane matchups.
Yawn.
Big yawn. So, speaking of the strategy, curious to see if Levi does anything. Historically, when you look at Nocturne, obviously a champion that you're like, oh, power farm to 6. But if there is decent setup, which there is on the bottom side, and he has started on the top side, so he can clear top to bot, there is room for him to get in for early ganks. Champion does a lot of damage. That said, kind of just expecting a relatively chill early game from the side of GAM, whereas Croc is really the one who needs to try and get something done with this early game Lee Sin.
I think you're especially going to see a lot of focus out of Loud around the mid lane because it does feel like one of the more punishable ones on the enemy side. It's also where you have a lot of the best setup. Of course, you can make plays in any lane for Croc, and this is exactly what you want when you draft a Lee Sin, is you want to have an abundance of options. So if something goes crazy in the bot lane and someone loses flash, you can then punish that. It's very easy to follow up on, and it's a very good composition in that sense. And you do still have some assurances in your scaling with the Xayah. So I do like Loud's composition for GAM. We already kind of talked about some of the maybe different ideas that the comp can go for, but at the very least, like you said, there are a lot of short-range champions on Loud, so you can always just drop your EQ on top of people and just drop tons of damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we get into the later game fights, I'm curious to see what Robo is going to be able to do against these champions, because again, against a lot of these melee champions, if Aatrox is ahead, he can wreak havoc as a champion who I think is very strong. I expect to see more of. Worlds is a nice little invade here. Loud leveraging their early bot lane priority, power that Xayah wave clear, to come in and contest Levi on the objective. Lee Sin coming in as well. Spell Shield already used. Nice sidestep comes in from Levi. Surely he's going to have to just flash out here. For taking his time on the one route. Is he just going to accept his fate? Rakan now coming in. Is he going to try to get out without flash? Now he's finally flashing to safety. The patience pays off. I think if he flashes over the wall, it's easy for Croc to flash follow and confirm the kill anyway. So very good patience coming in from Lenny.
Yeah, it would have been a big panic flash if you just go over the wall, like you said, easy to fall. So it takes a little bit of greedy time to kite back the other way, and he was able to do that without burning other sums from his bot lane. I was worried that's going to be one of those spillover plays where you're like, save me, and everyone commits everything, saving Private Ryan, then suddenly Pallet's losing his flash and stuff like that. But they're able to get out.
Sort of who saves the saver sort of situation. Pallet will back away. Ghost down for route. Sayas as well. Ignite down. So they are giving up some of those summoners to come move in and contest. It does still slow Levi's clear down, but because Lee Sin is in the area as well, ultimately not too bad for GAM.
And I like the aggression out of Loud level 1 or level 3. Excuse me. This is exactly what we were hoping to see when we talk about some of the playmaking that they have. Burn flashes, get in there. Levi has not been too slowed down with this clear. Did have to leave up that bot side of the jungle, but it was not actually stolen away. So you can eventually maybe get down there, pick those camps up. Just went to the top side for now. And of course, you do want to hold down a Nocturne if possible.
Yeah. And I think the other big thing, anytime you have these level 6 champions with globals or semi-globals, one of the big things that casters, you'll hear casters talk about, or teams talk about, is the importance of those first couple ults. It's the same story with Twisted Fate. It was the same story with Pantheon, although less so last time we saw him in the meta. But those first ults are really impactful because the cooldown is so damn long. If you don't get something out of it, this ult that you worked to for so much of the early game, amounting to nothing, just makes the champion feel completely worthless. So again, tracking the Nocturne, tracking that level 6, but Loud get lane prio again, this time knowing that they are safe to do so. Walk in, they take the camp away. So now Nocturne, a camp behind with no new camp to be replaced. We'll have to invade if he wants to get some of that back.
The positive side of this for GAM is that Kiaya has known where Croc is this entire time and seems to have been able to use that to get a lane advantage.
Now training his health for routes overall could be positive, but again, there's just not much of an angle here to get anything done on the bottom side as of yet.
Nope, just trying to punish Slayder over and over. That was one of the big areas that Loud got some advantages in their first matchup. Punishing Slayder, who had a very off series. Hopefully going to have a better one this time around, because people might not remember from day one, GAM got a Baron. GAM should have won that game, and then they got really greedy with it, pushing in on the bot side of the map where it got turned around. So hopefully they have learned their lesson and will come with a little bit more reserve play if they do get big advantages.
Yeah, and I will say for the VCS as a whole, it was a wild playoff run. I think Goldberg has already mentioned Team Secret, but there were so many games in their playoffs that were decided by big Baron flips, ultimately. And that's something that's going to count against them, is now Robo forced to flash out to safety. Excellent play from Kiaya thus far. Kati trying to get out, trying to sidestep, but they're just taking their time. Wait for the charm. Easiest first blood setup ever. Victor just accepting, getting walked down slowly but surely.
Yeah, Tinowns just dashing at his face, forcing him to make a play, and eventually the flash comes out trying to predict the charm that Tinowns never threw until it was too late. And using that mobility to hop on top of him, the wave was not in a good spot. The fact that you could dash 3 times and still not be under the enemy turret means that Kati might have been a little too far pushed forward.
Yeah. And that's frustrating. Obviously, you just want to get as much of that early CS as possible, as well as, I mean, honestly, hopefully an assist or two, just to snowball, just to get those early Victor augments. So falling behind early, again, it's a control mage. You know it's fine. It's okay if it falls behind a little bit, but going to make it that much harder for GAM to really do anything meaningful in bigger fights, and certainly going to affect a potential 3v3 topside. Herald, 1 minute and 4 seconds counting down until that will be up. And right now, with the pressure that Loud have on the map, it should be easy pickings unless GAM want to try and force the 3v3.
Yeah, we'll see how they want to do it here. Crashing a wave right now, Loud, means that they can get a little bit of chip damage down this turret, get your first couple plates, then maybe get a reset off and move to the Herald. See where they want to go around the map. I gotta say, Kiaya did get that flash on the top side, so it's not all true for GAM right now. They do have one part of the map that is at least winning. Around 15-ish CS it's been bouncing around for Kiaya. But now Croc wants to get involved with the pink ward that they dropped down, so they know where Levi is and what he's doing exactly.
Levi now sees the Lee Sin in his jungle. Pullback gonna come through. Now the Q2, Q3, big damage, and again, clean and simple. Loud, just walking into these kills. They're not burning flashes. They're not getting over aggressive. They're not wasting cooldowns. They're just making it happen in the enemy jungle.
And I got to give credit to Robo there. He started that play off about a minute and a half ahead of time, running to the enemy jungle, dropping a pink ward down so they knew exactly when and where Levi was. That ward was not swept out. You can still see it there in that part of the map. And very easy to go ahead and now combo that with that Rift Herald, though Kiaya is trying to do his best to stop it.
Checking in on the experience, Levi, the one that you need to watch. He has been delayed from approaching level 6 at this stage. Once he gets that, maybe they have the tools to contest, but there are no camps here for him to take. This is a spectator Rift Herald. Levi's in the area. He's clearing out the vision. GAM came to watch for a minute, just so Loud could show them how it's done, but
yeah,
sadly,
we see
there's
you,
no
bro.
reason.
Nah, one of those plays.
It's a difficult situation. If you go bot side, you're 100% conceding it. You think maybe if they fumble something, we can make a play, but there's no play to be had. And for now, Loud playing much cleaner in the early game. They are leveraging the priority that they have in lanes. They managed to make plays despite a losing top side, but now the counter punch coming in from GAM, the flash out from Nautilus is good.
Oh.
And ultimately, first Nocturnal traded for a Nautilus flash is a damn good deal for Loud.
And Levi actually burned his flash there as well. Looked like he was trying to prediction flash over the wall to get the fear on Nautilus, or was maybe trying to flash to the other side of the Nautilus for the fear to push him further up the lane. Either way, though, the fear was not that close to going off. Nautilus gets to the wall, gets the flash out. So Seosh not just eating Levi's ultimate there, but getting his flash out as well. And like you said, you hear casters talk about it. I'm going to do exactly that. You want? Tell me, Mark, when you have a global or semi-global champion, Dracos, you want it to go well. It's a long cooldown on that ultimate. And now he's going to have to wait for it to come back up before he can do anything.
And often in the past when Nocturne was popular, you would see them rush Lucidity boots just so they could have it up before their first ult for that nice chunk of ability haste. Levi has no such luxury. It's going to be a year, 2 years maybe. He'll have children. They'll be working their way into preschool by the time we see another ult. Maybe even kindergarten. It's going to be quite some time before we see that ultimate up and available. As Board Drinker coming out for Lee Sin on the opposite side. This is bad. Again, it's only a 1.3k gold difference at this stage of the game, but GAM can't do anything.
No, not really. Like, maybe you can go to Kiaya's lane and get some advantage there. And it is, of course, nice to have your Cassante winning, you know, but he's not going to be as powerful as Route, who's just free farming the bot lane, grabbing turret plates just for existing and having shoved, basically, and winning lane phase against Slayder for the second series in a row.
Slayder has to be careful here. Chaos going in the hook. Now Tinowns with the follow-up. Dash out to safety. Fancy. Oh, Tinowns! Taking down Slayder. It must be Rain and Blood on the bottom side. Kati next on the menu, but he manages to get down a nice gravity field. Locking up 3. Good damage back onto Tinowns. Trying slowly but surely to cut through the R, and he's going to get him the max range death laser. He might be a little early on the spell sheet. It might not matter, however. He's trying to use him as a hook out to safety. Croc committing to the play. He's got the War Drinkers available as well. He wants to finish it, but again, the gravity field. Kati, W after W. He's taking his time, 1.5 seconds, but he's got all the time he needs. They're stunned every single time. Robo gonna get some plates back, but nice counterpunch from GAM.
Making it work. We were doubting the Victor a little bit in the draft if it was gonna come through, and if there's a turret dive that you can teleport into and help turn around, that's gonna come up big. Getting those 2 kills, he is a very strong scaling champion who might be able to stuff these dives from Loud if they keep coming in. That was a nice turnaround there. Did cost a lot of resources, though, out of GAM, giving Robo some free time to catch up in the top side of the map. Still a pretty net even play at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's little moments like that that we need to see more of, at least punishing some of the more aggressive play from Loud. Respect to Loud for trying to snowball their advantage, and clean play initially from Tinowns, but GAM making sure to punish, making sure that it just doesn't get too out of control. If you do not get those counter kills there, I think the entire game just starts to fall apart. We're only 12 minutes in. Plates are still on the table, and I just feel like any mistakes you make as GAM are going to be incredibly costly.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things when looking at professional League of Legends is for the backbreaker play, the thing that fully breaks the game open, where you can no longer contest anything except for when people make a big mistake. It would be the Dame Aelin to Lororic backbreaker. Yeah, that was one of those
the
plays.
real ones who get that reference.
Yeah, you're a real one. That was one of those plays where if you don't get those cleanup kills and you just dive the bot lane, get a bunch of kills, and then break turret bot lane completely open, suddenly GAM has no place to make the rest of the map. And the fact that the Victor does get 2 kills keeps them somewhat relevant in this game, though still on the back foot.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be important to track to see how GAM set up, if they can set up around these objectives, because that's when Victor's going to feel powerful. If they're wandering into objectives late, they're not going to be able to do a lot. Herald is going to charge here. Some nice money to have. Ulti coming out. We saw this play just a couple minutes ago. Robo once again able to make it out to safety. Pull back. Kiaya now going over for the follow-up. Knocks him down. The desk called it out. We see it come to life on the top side. Kiaya finding the solo kill.
Yeah, Robo thought he was out, had his flash up, would have needed to flash the Q3 to get enough distance. That knockback keeping him in range for Kiaya to just go over the wall. Also had his flash. That's why you would need to flash the Q3 to get that extra distance. Not able to get it done, but Robo doing top lane things. Losing lane, winning game. We're chilling, absorbing pressure as we get the dragon.
Yeah. Ooh, this is a play we got to take a look back at. Watch Tinowns here. This is what's sick nasty. Oosh!
The Ari flash forward pull back on Q. Second part of it, very nice. Yeah. Here, kind of caught him in a rock and a hard place. He could have ran down, I thought, to get further away from Victor's gravity field. It does scale on speed based off distance from Victor, and so if you ran south there, but then you'd be just running into the waiting arms of the Gasante. Chose not to do that, and almost saved Levi there. Not able to get it done. Back's alive.
Lockup coming in. Pallet locked up. They've got too much damage, but Rakan got a stopwatch. Is it going to be enough? He is able to make it out to safety. Well played by Pallet to survive. Forced to burn an important cooldown. Manages to walk away with his life. That said, the tower, are they going to have enough tools to protect it? And again, we're in a situation where Kiaya forced to come bot lane to protect the play, and Robo, the one who benefits. Robo, the one who's going to get some time alone on the top side with this tower.
Yeah, you look at the CSD at 14 suddenly. Hey, pretty even lane phase, guys. Look at the stats. Don't look at the context. Robo went mostly even. 1 death, whatever, that happens. Otherwise, he also had that great pink board.
Look, man. MasterCard lane economy snapshot. Bam. This is the moment where we took the picture. Tiny lane gap.
Therefore,
220 gold. This is bam.
The beauty of a snapshot.
That's all we care about.
Yep.
It's like the post-game screen where your 80 carry is 9-1, despite the fact that they were 0-0-0 for 30 minutes. Doesn't matter. Carried the game.
It should have been team fights.
Yeah.
No, just a bit of a rough game for Robo, but the rest of the Loud looking incredible. The mid and bot side very much going in their favor. And we were hyping up Route for a reason. He is the primary carry for this team. They know it. They're sending a lot of resources down there to help him out. You can see a lot of the plays keyed off the fact that they're getting pushed in the bot side of the map. Then Croc invades, then they spill over down to the bot turret for those dives. Did not end up breaking that turret, though. It is actually Robo who, because there's so much pressure down the bot side that GAM has to respond to, Robo is actually able to just take top turret for free.
Yeah. And now, Tinowns is going to be able to grab this tower. Top turret down, obviously from the side of Loud, but they might fish for the dive here onto Robo. Again, trying to punish one of the weaker sides of the map. Nocturnal coming in. Ignite already ticking. Early Ignite just to make sure there's no Aatrox healing, but out he goes! World Ender out to safety. There's no wave there really either to play around the tower, so they're going to try to push for more. But now Kazante, can he hold on? Slayder off in the area. Croc getting over aggressive, a kickback. Oh, he's going, trying to finish the job. Croc, no! Oh, his mind was telling him no, but his body was saying yes, 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 and all of Loud saying no, no, no. That play did not work out. Little Lee syndrome costing him here as Tinowns finally dashing out to safety charm. He's got a bit more movement to come through, but the play will fizzle. Kati on the top side will finally break the tower.
Yo, your reference game is sick today.
Been trapped in a hotel room for 3 days, sick. Let me out.
He's been cooking for 3 days, finally has some bars to drop. That was the play, again, saving GAM's time, because they just invested so many resources into the top side that failed. Then Loud is saying, okay, great. 3 members on the top side. Kiaya is trying to stop this wave from getting in. He's trying to protect his mid turret. Let's go ahead and kill him for it. And they almost get it. They almost land this, but after the damage, nicely timed flash out of Slayder. I'll give him that. Sometimes you flash slightly too early and the Lee Sin Q follows you post-flash, but he was able to get away from the damage after the Q2 connects. Then the people from the top side, because that play took so long to develop, are able to get down and show up and actually help out around the mid lane. And they get a ton of kills back. They're able to close that gold gap almost to just around 600 here.
TB coming in from Kati. GAM looking to further cement their advantage after that positive play. Again, the gold, very small difference at this stage of the game. Robo stepping forward. Infernal Chain's going to be avoided. Kiaya strong, just going to step in, pull the Lee Sin back. They're going to try to one-shot the jungler as quickly as possible. Croc had a fantastic early game, but now he's just getting knocked down. Pallet flash out to safety. He's safe for now. Robo getting pulled back. Tinowns waiting over the wall. They can't quite find the angle. Nocturne going in. Feathers are going to fly. Levi needs to be flawless with spell shield timing, but he's not even going to get the opportunity. Levi finding one another coming through. Robo getting pulled over the wall by Kiaya in the fights. GAM is monstering Loud.
They have finally grabbed a gold lead back at that Rift Herald fight. GAM take the lead in the game. They have pressure on the tail end of that, starting their scaling online. Kati up to 4-1-1. But the start of this play, the fact that he's zoning the bot side from being able to collapse, so it's a 4v3, and Kiaya says, great, I'm charging in there. He gets the double flip back on Q3, allowing Croc to be the first target that they melt. Finally, the bot lane of Loud has caught up here, but the fight's already over, and Kati just continues to threaten the backside of the fight. Robo has some heroics here. He starts kind of getting those resets that you see an Aatrox do. His health bar shoots right back up there, but just too little too late. Kiaya is still able to find the shutdown afterwards, and again, like you said, Levi on the other side of the fight, finishing off that backline.
Yeah, and if you looked at the damage during that fight, about 3.6k Kati over the course of the fight, Kiaya at 2.6. Just crazy. Goal difference over time, obviously telling us the story of this game. Powered by AWS. Right, I'm going to be honest. I was ready to just apologize to Croc. I said I was skeptical about his Lee Sin, and it was so good. And I just feel like that play on the mid lane, he got ahead of himself. And you talked about the backbreaker play. And I think that into that fight we just saw was the backbreaker play, except Croc broke his own back. It's like he just jumped onto the other guy's knee.
Or it's like when you have the guy right over the head and they do that weird spin thing down and they flip it around, suddenly you're flipping the other guy on his back.
I don't know what that's called. I haven't watched enough WWE. Someone else can let us know.
Stress is somewhere watching
Stress,
this.
yeah, if you're watching, let us know. But that sucks for Loud because again, I felt like their early game was pretty immaculate this game.
Yeah.
Pressure across the board, clean ganks, simple plays, and then they tried to just get a little too fancy in the mid lane, gave away a bunch of kills, and then GAM came right back into it. And that's the thing about these VCS teams, you can't give them an inch. They will always go for the mile.
They are down to scrap, and if you go for a dive, they're going to meet you there. They're going to contest that play. You can see time and time again, GAM are submitting resources. They're not the go to the other side of the map team. There are some teams, when they fall behind, they start trading objectives, they try and scale, they try and stay relevant. GAM, and generally speaking in the VCS, they are the scraps. They're ready to go, oh, you're going bot, we're going bot, we're going to cover that dive. And it puts a burden of mechanical execution on you to actually convert on those plays. And should you come up short, they will punish you. And that's how they got back in this game. They contested on the bot side, they kept it close. Mid lane, they finally flipped it around. Then here at the Rift Herald fight, third fight in a row, that GAM was able to come out on top. And Loud's comp is admittedly kind of difficult to play. If you're not landing charms, if you're not landing the kickbacks from Croc, if you're getting split in these fights and not assassinating someone out the gate, you're going to do less damage than GAM's composition, just fighting front to back kind of, and with their backline flying in.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky, because ultimately, where are you using that Lee Sin kick? You know, who are you kicking? Where are you going to find that angle and that opportunity? It's difficult to find a meaningful impact. And Croc, once again, caught out here. Herald has been utilized. Ignite now ticking, just barely able to heal up. Nocturne ult coming in, but won't be able to find a target. Looks like he dropped out of vision just in time. Pallet stepping forward, just maybe hoping to catch Croc out. Of course, Lee Sin lifesteal buffed coming into World, so was able to heal up pretty quickly on the camp there. But mid lane tower broken open, and this is where the game starts to get a lot easier for GAM. Tinowns fishing for these picks, and I think this is what Loud have to do to try to find a way back in.
Yeah, I like Loud stepping forward here with the amount of resources that were kind of used to find the kill onto Croc. Multiple ultimates down, 4 of them, and not finding that kill gives Loud space to finally step back forward, get involved, start clearing out this vision. But the way that they're going to win this game is most likely through pickoffs, which means you're going to need to find avenues that are not warded out by the enemy team to find those backline targets like you're saying. You're probably trying to kick the Kaisa or the Victor if you can ever find them without the rest of the team around them. Go for them. If it's straight team fighting, if you're just meeting it up at objectives, it's probably going to be GAM favored.
Certainly is. And I think this puts even more pressure one of the players featured today in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, Rout and Slayder. You know, for Slayder, I think his life is easy now, because in the laning phase, Rout absolutely was getting the better of him. If that had continued, you would expect the Xayah to take over fights, no question. But Slayder, as much as he's the focus, the center of attention, the rest of the team have now made his life so easy because he doesn't have to be the superstar in fights. Yeah, he just gets to leap into the backline, try and one-shot an Ahri, maybe a Xayah, or just hit frontline. He's going to be chilling.
He is chilling, and you can see the Quick Blades Kraken Slayer build. There's been a lot of debate about the right Kai'Sa build. She's a champion that can kind of build anything, but of course that doesn't mean it's optimal.
Sure.
And in this game, there's not a ton of frontline to punch through. Robo is sort of the tankiest, but that's more through like drain tanking than resists or anything like that.
Yeah.
But was behind in the game, and so did not go for the lethality build, which I think I personally like a lot. If you're ahead or there's not that many tank champions, go in there, blow people up, especially with this kind of composition. I think it would have made a lot of sense. But being more DPS oriented here this time around, more front to back, kind of working with the Victor kind of identity.
Yeah, I think I like the adaptation coming in. Obviously, Quick Blades Kraken Slayer can be strong overall, but the TP behind here. GAM looking to further press their advantage. A second TP now coming in. Nocturne to sow a little bit of chaos. Rakan immediately going in, but the feathers fly up, and so far the disengages come through. Kati immediately going to try to flashback out from Rout. The entire team forced to disengage. It is Robo versus the world, and Robo's doing all right thus far. Kicked over the wall. Croc now re-engaged coming in. Tinowns, one more charge left on the dash. Needs to get the kill, needs to get the resets. Robo on the backside, maybe he can do it. Tinowns going forward, wants to find the kill, but again, despite all their efforts, Loud cannot find the angle, and it is all falling apart. They managed to get out, but they try to commit again. They try to turn it back in their favor. And at the end of the day, GAM stopped them in their tracks and set their sights on the Baron.
GAM brute forced that fight, multiple teleports, the Nocturne ultimate, and honestly, Loud did a great job kiting that out. And there was a moment here where, again, we talk about the mechanical barrier of execution of this composition came up just short. Here, excellent ult out of Rout to stay there, make sure he doesn't get charmed up by the Rakan. They managed to kite this one out. Rout's threatening the backside. Here, Kati is going to get kicked right as Tinowns dashes in with his Everfrost. And the miss of damage there, the fact that they were not able to actually just land that combination of the Lee Sin Ahri together to get that kill, to get the reset, to then charge through the rest of the fight and potentially meet up with Robo, who was on that backside that entire time. If you get that first kill on Kati, you can probably reset most through the fight and actually maybe win it, or at the very least, do enough damage to stop the Baron going down. That does not happen. GAM is now completely in control of this game.
And it's wild to see how quickly this game has turned around and how well GAM are now playing with the lead, because again, the early game was rough. This Nocturne looked pretty useless, but now is looking very relevant in these fights, especially when Loud have to burn so many cooldowns just to get away from the initial engage. It's kind of a field day for Levi once he sees these immobile carries, cooldown lists. And just run in. Blue Trinket going to spot out the dragon happening. Not a lot to be done here, but again, Loud were able to grab a dragon early in the game, so it is not sole point. Kiaya stepping up pretty fearlessly. Good poke coming through here, but GAM trying to bully their way back to mid lane, just take control of this wave. Off on the flank is Pallet, is Levi. Ult's available. And they fish for the fight here. Tinowns walking out, marking the flank, spotting it, but Tinowns
didn't see him.
Didn't see him. Clean play around the vision, and instantly it just goes down. Flawless coming in from Slayder there, as now the fight's going to continue. A bit of a slow siege here. The kick back, the knockup going to deny it. It's going to stop it. Everything again. Loud cannot find the angle in these fights. Rout's still standing, but everyone else is falling down. Robo trying to buy space for the 80 carry. But Rout's just not allowed to play the game. There is no room for the Xayah to maneuver. The featured matchup be damned. He does not matter. GAM breaking through. Very likely to take at least an inhibitor. Will not be able to push for the win. It's just too early in the game.
Yeah, 15 seconds on death timer's not going to be able to get through both Nexus turrets afterwards. We'll see if they can even grab the inhibitor. Looks like they're going to back off for now after Rout has healed up there. And Palo was in the flank wanting to go, but his ult was just seconds away from being up. And it took too long, so he abandons the position. And I think Tinowns was just totally focused on mid lane, not even looking where his champion was going.
Can we see the vision here?
He's just walking right at him.
Yeah,
he's
right
just not looking.
You said he just didn't see him. I thought there was a vision bug. No,
I mean like literally his
camera was
in mid lane.
And this is what's frustrating if you're a Loud fan, is this was almost a perfect early game, but the hands weren't good. The brain has been pretty good this entire game, but just these little mistakes. everywhere, plaguing this game for Loud. This is not how you wanted to start the series.
Yeah, you can almost feel there's like this slight moment of hesitation out of Pallet being like, am I getting trolled?
Am I trolling?
Or
is he baiting me?
Yeah, like, is this a trick? Is there someone behind him? But no, as soon as that ultimate came up, Pallet was able to go flying in there. He's had a very good game, 0, 1, and 10. Had a rough lane phase, him and Slayder. No doubt about it. There is something that they will need to keep an eye on going forward in this series. But at the very least, once they're out of lane phase, the two have looked monumentally better than the first time Loud and GAM squared off on day 1.
Yeah. And right now, short of GAM throwing, which reminder, they did do the last time these two teams played. They threw a big gold lead. It's feeling like the GAM victory lap. Slow and steady, most certainly. Still need to play it well, but they have all the tools they need to end this game in their favor. And Loud don't have the tools to turn it back in their favor unless GAM misstep.
That's the painful thing about this is their tools were at the sharpest in the early game. They were doing it pretty well, and then a couple just mechanical misplays over and over again leads to the point now where you're 7,000 gold down. They're starting to stack dragons on you. They got their first Baron, and now you're like,
it's tough, man.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the finest Japanese steel blade. The greatest katana ever made. And you're like, so I hit him with the side of it, and you're like, no!
The blunt side. You're bludgeoning damage.
I just hit him right on the horizontal side where it's thickest. You're like, no, that is not how a sword
you wield
works.
that weapon,
Please stop.
No. Taking a look at itemization, I love the Anathema's chains.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan of this item. It's just so frustrating. And when you identify the route is the only late game damage on the side of Loud, as well as their best player, get this thing that makes it really annoying should your fear go off. And I love...
Also, double Abyssal, because your Victor is fed, is the greatest like high-five teamwork moment I've ever seen. Is it excessive? Arguably.
I was going to say yes.
Yes. Do you need 2 of the same aura for champions who don't really deal magic damage? No. Is that Victor going to burn through everyone on an enemy team despite building a kind of weird tanky hybrid build? Yeah.
I feel like somehow people finally realized what Abyssal Mask did.
It took so long. This item has been stupid for so... I just want to say, as a long-time Abyssal Mask enjoyer, it does not matter what I think. The fight now breaking out. Route just forced to retreat here. GAM bullying in, but again, Loud holding the line pretty well. Have enough major cooldowns been burned that they can re-engage? The answer is no, because they need Route's ulti to be safe in these exchanges.
Yeah, lost the Ghost, lost the ultimate. They burned a number of cooldowns peeling back. It was nicely peeled, but you get nothing for it. The enemy team, without Baron, is still grouping up and taking turrets in front of your face by threatening these kinds of engages. Of course, they did burn their own ultimates. You know, Pallet has to wait for his to come up and whatnot, but they're still buying space on the map. They're getting wars down. They're grabbing objectives. And now Baron spawning in 20 seconds. You can see them going for the reset. A little slow, but they should be able to get back on the map in time. And in the meantime, Loud is having to chew through so much of this vision that was already placed down.
Yeah. Loud not even able to walk up confidently to clear mid out as Kiaya alone contesting this wave, so won't even have enough mid prio to come and contest that vision. This should cost Kiaya his life, but Loud just aren't confident enough to pull the trigger here, so Kiaya is winning the extended play. Robo now forced away, Pallet going over the wall, debating if they want to re-engage. Robo chunked out with no TP available. GAM's pick for the litter, kind of. Take whatever objective they want. For now, it will be the Infernal. It does mean conceding some of their Baron vision, but they seem unaffected or unfazed by that problem.
Yeah, they have a lot of tools to get in quickly should the enemy team try to start that Baron in a trade situation. Obviously, Levi on Nocturne can fly across the map. Same thing for Slayder on Kaisa, so you just have Pallet running, zoning a little bit there by himself. The enemy team, or the rest of the team, burns down the Baron, then collapse if they need to. So nice little use of their potentially global abilities if they need to use them.
Croc stepping up. There is some vision in the pit that is yet to be cleared by the side of GAM. Slayder has cleanse. Kati has Azanias. It is very tough to start a fight and immediately win. You cannot just come up and sucker punch GAM. It is going to take some time. You're going to have to win the extended engage. And that's a situation where GAM are pretty heavily favored at this point, this kind of lead.
Pallet once again on flanking duty. Doing a good job trying to wheedle his way through the vision of Loud. Getting it spot out on that pink board. He goes a little bit further forward. And this is the difficulty for Loud, is that GAM is not just going to start the Baron and get super low and let you jump on top of them and murder them all. They're going to hover around that area, try and get you to face check them, look for opportunities for Pallet to catch you off on the side while the rest of the team has pressed forward into that vision to make sure they have not actually started off that Baron, because they do have a very, very fast Baron team here for GAM. If you do give them alone time, they can melt through it.
Yeah, stepping forward. Immediately, though, GAM pulls the trigger. They try to find the angle. Levi on top of the back line. Everybody running. The entire team split. A beautiful pullback coming in from Kiaya. Croc now left all on his lonesome. So Pal going to get immediately kicked out. Croc buying a bit more space for his back line, but he's already down. Slayder ults in, and Kiaya does not care, baby. Get the Sante coffee pastas ready. This guy's making it happen, but Route desperately holding on, trying to fire back. Kiaya needs to be careful about stepping forward. Route, blast come through. GAM still have priority access to the Baron. Ultimately, 3 taken down for 1, heavily in favor of GAM. Will be their Baron.
Nice play out of GAM there, and Kati continues to come up big. The Victor that we were doubting in the draft, showing that he knows exactly what he's doing, able to go 8-2-8 on this champion, blow people up. It was his damage that Robo was like, okay, I got my gourd drink, I'm ready to try and heal through this. Oh my god, my health bar. Started off by Levi, of course, going in there, kind of splitting the team up with the vision. A nice Q3 out of Kiaya, yet again flipping Robo back, and then annihilated. Kati and Slayder comboing together there, and then it's just easy chase down for the rest of the team.
Yeah. And Loud are just spending this entire fight running. And Xayah runs pretty good. You see the feather setup here. You see the pullback. They are able to get one, at least slow GAM a little bit here, but GAM are so dominant now in these fights.
Yeah, resetting on the map. Got all their items completed. Grab mid lane inhibitor, group up on one of these side lanes. Feels pretty cut and paste for the end of this game now, unless there's a massive stumble around Nexus turrets.
Red Bull Baron power play coming through. Feels more like Red Bull 20 minutes power play. I don't know. That one wasn't great. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll workshop it in the break. We'll come back. Everyone, forget you heard that.
Forget you heard that. That's
going to be a
work in
banger
progress material. We'll figure it out.
45 minutes from now.
Figure it out. All right. They cannot commit to the recon because they don't want to risk it, which is the perfect place to be as a support.
Able to walk forward, eat a bunch of abilities, and they're afraid to jump on you. Robo was in the top side there as well, doing a bit of split pushing, finish off his Sterix with that gold that he got. We'll see probably one more desperation play.
One more pullback. Sante again, unaffected by damage. Does get hit by the pullback. That's big. That could be a solid start to the fight. Again, burning through Kiaya, getting lower and lower. Massive shutdown for Loud. They need to pull the trigger. They have to fight. They're not going to get a better opportunity than this. But they can't afford to fumble. Nice cleanse coming through. Robo on the front line. Maybe this is their opportunity. The Victor damage is massive, though. Burning through the entire team. Levi finally going to re-engage. And Slayder, it's his time to shine. His time to take over. A single pick, not enough. GAM now breaking their way into the base, bullying towards the Nexus. I don't know if they want to risk it here. Instead, happy to just have 2 inhibitors and walk away.
For a moment there, it looked so good for Loud. They were melting through the front line of GAM, who were getting a little overzealous to pull back onto Kiaya, but they were not able to land damage onto the actual carries of the composition. And once they step too far forward, they blow them up. Starts out here, a nice chain landed by Robo. Not able to get out to the corner of the box, the furthest distance possible. That gets Kiaya back in there. They blow him up, and they go, okay, this is the time. And this is absolutely the right play. There's not many times you're going to kill the Cassante for free and have a chase down sequence. But right here, I got to say, Seos misclicks onto Pallet instead of Slayder. I'm pretty sure there he was trying to target the Kaisa, ends up dropping his ultimate onto Pallet, and that enables Slayder to just charge forward totally unperturbed. And also, like you said, Kati was just dropping damage as Victor does when you're trying to chase forward.
And again, in a world where Loud are able to snowball their lead and you can just one-shot a Victor and he's not going to do that much damage back to you, it's not a massive threat. But when you have to fight into the Victor, the game is so much harder. And in goes the Nocturne. Xayah already feared, waiting over the wall. In goes Slayder, just going to look to take him down. The shutdown coming in. The kick is too little, too late. Lambs to the slaughter are Loud as GAM tear their way through the team comp once again, making it look effortless. It's a triple. Probably could give him a penta, but they're not even worried about it. Eyes set on the prize, eyes set on the win. They don't have a creep wave, but they have more than enough time to wait for it.
I don't think they need it either. Kiaya should be tanky enough with the rest of the team to just brute force this down. You saw the power of the Anathema's chain there, keeping Route locked up for almost like 3 seconds there. Didn't even get his ultimate off. Well played in there. GAM taking the victory lap.
Tinowns out, Tinowns down. GAM finding a win. Yep. Reduced tenacity, infinite fear duration, powerful turnaround after a lackluster early game from GAM. Once they got control, they never gave it up. And this is not the same team we saw play against Loud earlier in the tournament. Looking revitalized. And this time when they found a lead, they did not hesitate to close it out cleanly.
I think it's going to be a good series, though, because cast your mind back to the beginning of this game. Loud had their moments. They had a great early game. They had the plays. They were being proactive to win this game. Just came up short. We'll have to see what adaptations they make heading into game 2. If they want to double down on that and just say, hey, we play better. Or you say, let's take a little bit more scaling, a little bit easier execution. Should we not completely dominate the early game? There's a lot of choices here to make for Loud.
Yeah. I will say frustrating game for Loud, and I imagine for Loud fans as well. A lot of mechanical misplays. Yes, there were some comedic decisions as well. Croc that engaged into the tower, Tinowns getting caught out on vision, and while those are great highlight moments to clip out and kind of meme about, ultimately, there's just a lot of bad button pressing and 1 or 2 questionable decisions that threw away a nearly flawless early game. I'm going to be completely honest. They went topside. They made a play happen despite having a losing lane. They were dominating bot side. Lee Sin was finding early kills. Everything you wanted to happen on paper happened for Loud, but it was not enough. I'm kind of flabbergasted after an early game like that. I think Mark's in a similar boat. I guess let's see what Trevor and the desk have to say.
Mark does not look flabbergasted. We had a lot of fun watching that one. And I'm going to say something that's a little bit unfair, but it captures how I'm feeling. Why on earth would any team degrade themselves into an all-out, skirmish, bloodthirsty battle against the VCS's #1 team from a region that is more experienced with their playstyle than maybe anyone else in the world? It's a little bit unfair, I know that, but that's how it felt watching the game.
Do you want to elaborate?
Loud started so well. Yes, we got a ton of replays. I'll tell you about it in a second or two. Let's jump into the draft immediately. Any gut reactions, I think, outside of maybe the Victor last pick, a bit surprising for us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that Victor should have been in a Sia and it would have worked better. It worked out fine in the game, not because I think the Victor did anything specifically, but
when you
because
get fed a
Loud
little
kinda
bit, it
gave
helps.
the kills to them. But I actually think that Loud got away pretty good. You already had the Sai into the Kaiser, cool, you get push. You have Nautilus into Rakan, cool, you win the laning phase because of how the kit functions versus each other. And that allowed them as well to play around, guess what, early game Jungler 2 had really good priority around the mid lane on the Victor 2 because Victor's very mobile, doesn't really allow much to happen. And top lane, as we predicted, was the only one that's going to struggle a bit. I kind of also go with the sentiment of a lot of people that giving Kiaya Kasante in a matchup he's already favored in going up against an Aatrox maybe not be the best idea.
Yeah, and I do think GAM's drafting was very smart around topside. Banning the Renekton and Olaf and basically pushing him towards, with a counter pick, towards the Aatrox. Because at that point I was like, what else does he pick? Or willing to pick. So I thought it was really good drafting from GAM's side, and he just got punished overall.
I mean, listen, let's start at the beginning, and part of the reason why I was very happy with Loud until my angry outburst, I think their goal or their strategy of invading Levi, getting into that Nocturne's jungle, getting into his face over and over, it seemed to garner a lot of control for Loud, and I was quite excited about the Brazilians opening to this game.
You can see it here. This is the better draft from the bot lane coming through where you get the early priority, and this allows you to just move while the enemy AD carry is losing farm on the tower and even starting a slow push. Of why they have a skirmish that's in favor of them. There's also Slayder losing farm on the bot side while all this is happening. So even if you don't get a kill, it's still a win and you push Levi out. This also then allows them, after everything's come through, Levi's gone up to the top side. Well, guess what? Bush put, we have Slayder on a reset, we can go for it again. So they just get their leads in ahead, and the early game looks phenomenal for Loud in the beginning.
Yeah, and it's kind of, oh, I remember this moment.
Yes. I remember you specifically saying, oh no, Levi has no flash. Oh no, Levi's gonna die. Yes, he died.
And he didn't drag the red into the bush, but I was like, oh my god, that was a bit of a shock. So overall, great invade by Robo. Great overall strategy to be able to punch down towards Levi and make him really like far behind in the game. In fact, his first ulti bot wasn't successful, and I think Levi was a bit tilted because even the first flash, there were a lot of moments for Levi in the early portions of the game were just not good.
Yeah, it looked like they should just be able to carry it out from the position they had themselves in.
They should have been able to, and because of this next replay, this is where my anger comes from, and since you asked me to explain myself, every second counts thanks to a reliable Cisco network. Kiaya and Slayder survived the mid lane dive, they secured themselves 3 kills to turn around the game, and this was just one of many events where, in my opinion, I think Loud just overchased. They did too much. What do you think, Opal?
No, I'm completely with you as well, man. Obviously a bit of a Kasante moment, but still remember, you left this champion up. I think Croc almost outplays it, just doesn't have the damage or follow-up yet from the team to come through with it. And then they continue on the engage.
Yes.
The hook from Zeus on the tower just allows Levi to come
Tinowns
in here.
looking for a
and
flank.
gifting this double kill over to Levi is really what sends him back into the game. You spend your entire early game winning against GAM, and then you decided to say, wouldn't it be fun if we made Levi come back into the game and we can play at even footing again?
Yeah, I like ballsy plays like that when you recognize and are aware of like, oh, they don't have flashes. This makes a lot of sense because we just saw them topside, so we have a timer here, right? But they recognized that they still had flash, thought they can outplay anyways, and then that's when, as Draco's mentioned on the cast, it started to turn on them. And plays after plays, GAM is starting to win out these fights.
And on the bottom lane, I remember Loud's trying to start off that initiation onto the Kai'Sa, sorry, and they didn't have Pallet anywhere nearby. Teleport still comes in. At the end of the day, mid lane of Victor gets fed, and we just see time and time again these skirmishes going the way of
And I
GAM.
get it. Kiaya is playing K'Sante, okay? We've seen what the champion does, but we also have to mention while he's off that Kiaya is absolutely phenomenal on this champion.
Yes.
He is absolutely carrying them in these team fights, and he's doing so much work. This champion absolutely has to be banned against him, and he's one of the reasons why they win these fights. But even also the point that they got here was because Loud decided to 1-3-1 against the Nocturne, letting them come back into it after they gifted it. So I think Loud really fumbled the ball in this one where it could have been a way more even game.
And respect to Kiaya just in general, right? Like, sure, he has a K'Sante. Honestly, he probably would just perform on any champion at this point. He's just been performing this tournament.
Wow, 12K.
He was just so instrumental this game. The solo kill that he had top lane was 1 point. The 2-man knockup that he actually had multiple 2 to 3-man knockups.
Yeah.
A lot of it was assisted by Nocturne, but in general, I think Kiaya was able to find moments that were able to turn fights for his squad. So he was blessed with the fact that Croc made the initial mistake and that Loud continued to make those mistakes to get him back into the game, or his team back into the game, but he was always there to begin with.
And also, let's give a lot of credit to GAM. I obviously have been pretty negative on Loud. I was hoping for a little bit more after that such a strong early game. GAM, on the flip side, I think a lot of those skirmishes, they did play them well. Mechanically, they look better. I think Slayder in particular, I came in with very low expectations, and let me not kid around. When you've got a K'Sante diving forward and a Nocturne diving forward, and then you pick your timing to when you use a Killer Instinct, it does make it simpler. But it was nice to see how much better he looked today coming up against Root in comparison to the last time.
I also think it just shows that, you know, Slayder doesn't have to need to be the carry. He just needs to not end into Route, so Route gets ahead with the game. And if you go even against him, we have the rest of the map that plays very well, so there's no pressure on Slayder whatsoever, as long as he can stay even.
Closing thoughts before we go to ad break. Loud have selected blue side. So just before we go to ad break and get ready for game number 2, final thoughts as we look ahead. Loud potentially on the precipice of being 2-0'd.
I don't think they changed too much from the draft. I really like the Xayah first pick, and I think the early game was really beneficial for them. So they keep doing that. It's how you structure mid-game that needs to change for this team.
We'll see if they can fix it or if they are eliminated right here, right now. As a reminder, if you missed any of the action, you can check out all the VODs and highlights of Worlds 2023 over at youtube.com/gaming. We'll be right back with game number 2, Do or Die for Loud.
Loud.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Tap, light it, open it, close it, and text it, and send it, snap it. Come on, let's see the brightness, and just feel the lightness. So impressive, be expressive. Oh, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap.
Kati trying to get out, trying to sidestep, but they're just taking their time. Wait for the charm. Easiest first blood setup ever. A couple minutes ago, Robo once again able to make it out to safety. Pullback. Kiaya now going over for the follow-up. Pullback going to come through. Now the Q2, Q3, big damage, and it goes going in the hook. Now Tinowns for the follow-up. Dash out to safety. Fancy. Oh, Tinowns! Needs to get the kill, needs to get the resets. Robo on the backside, maybe he can do it. Tinowns going forward, wants to find the kill. But again, despite all of their efforts, Loud cannot find the angle, and it's all falling apart. They managed to get out, but they try to commit again.
Hope we get a different caster for game 2.
Where's Captain Flowers, actually? Can he cast everything?
Dude, that dude's asleep, but...
Yo, memes aside, shout out to Captain Flowers. Obviously, fantastic caster. Maokai, Jax, Poppy Renekton. So, more of the same here. Loud have said, so far in the bans,
Run it back!
They take the Cassante away. And I respect it, but I don't think it's a champ diff in the top side. I think it was an execution diffy.
Yeah, because what if he plays Rumble again or something? Now, of course, Rumble's AP, and it changes your comps and all that stuff. But it does feel like not what won the game necessarily. Though, I would say it was Loud's own plays that was why they didn't win the game. And so in that sense, you just remove something that maybe Robo had a little bit of a frustration against, and otherwise it seems like they are confident to run it back mostly the same. This time, instead, maybe opting to take away the Rakan part of the Xayah-Rakan combination.
I like that. I think there's also something that goes understated in the world of League of Legends is the mental jujitsu you must master as a coach to get your players into the right headspace. Sometimes you just have to say, yeah, guys, it was the Cassante. Just ban the Cassante.
Yeah, guys, you definitely just int the game away. That champ was a problem.
Cassante was the issue. We got it on the next one.
You know what? The Rakan, got to get rid of it.
Yep.
I will also say Nautilus Death Fund went way up that game. 7 deaths, I believe it was. 4 saves at the end of that. And understandably, not wanting to do that again.
Yeah, I think the struggle right now that I'm having with the way this draft is playing out is you have secured the Rakan for yourself, but it does mean trading for the Rel, which is also another pretty high impact champion. And I think in general, I prefer the Xayah and the Xayah-Kai'Sa matchup if you want to make the game about bottling, which I think both sides have been pretty content to do. That said, route with a more mobile champion, a champion that can protect itself, I would argue even better than Xayah in a lot of situations with that extra mobility, with the invisibility and a cleanse. Maybe he can take over this game.
Yeah, I think Xayah also slightly better lane phase, but if Route's read is I win both sides of this matchup, I think I'm better than this guy in lane, and I feel like the Kai'Sa, like you said, is maybe covering for some of Slayder's late game playmaking. It was what Slayder also popped off on in his series yesterday. Maybe this is a takeaway as well, saying, okay, this was annoying. So this time around, you know, they have just straight up stolen the bot lane of GAM from last game, saying we're going to pilot this better. The only difference is, Pallet going to be on the Rel most likely, though of course it could flex still technically to jungle. Oh.
Yeah, I think not necessarily. I mean, obviously Levi is a fantastic jungler. He can play anything. He's played that one 4 times. But I would like to see him as something more impactful, more selfish is generally what I want to see from Levi as a player. Maybe that's fandom bias just because I remember him in his heyday of playmaking, but I like what Loud have put together now. I think the Jarvan is an excellent addition. It was obviously banned in the previous pick ban phase by Loud to stop GAM from getting it later in the game. That's why they went for the Nocturne, but when you have a Xayah on the enemy team, it's nice. And in general, maybe this is one of those plans champions that doesn't see more play in the Swift stage. I'm not sure, but this champ has looked damn good.
It's also a champion that can get outplayed if you're on top of your stuff. So I like the Syndra takeaway here to play into because you can knock him out of his EQ combination. It will come up very quickly again once you have 2 items, but it's usually pretty late into the game.
But you can also buffer it on the Jarvan and outplay the Syndra.
If you're cracked.
I don't actually think you can do it intentionally.
No,
maybe you can.
The Syndra has to E early, because if you are in your Q animation, it's not the hardest read.
Once the drag has begun, she can interrupt it on reaction if you're far enough away. So should be fine.
But that's something that Kati was probably going to be able to do, because he looked fantastic on the Victor. He seemed on point that game. He was one of the question marks of the draft, and he came up big.
Yeah, that was the pick we were most skeptical about. So I think we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt this time around. Nico and Orianna band away, trying to limit the safer control mage option. Orianna, one of the power picks of the patch overall. Clearly not powerful enough to be blinded in all situations, but definitely still a high-tier, S-tier mid laner.
Yeah, I think some of the weaknesses of Orianna still exist, which is with a lot of engaged tools, her only defense is I have a ball on my head and I'm running kind of quick, and that can still be punched through. So no surprise. As well, individually, like we said, with the J4, you can stun him out of it, and Kati's most played champion is the Syndra, so cool to see him back on that. Here we get the Wukong, also most played for Levi, so they're going back to a lot of comfort picks here. Actually, all these are their most played through Summer Split for GAM thus far.
GAM, maybe just trying to close it out clean. play full for comfort, play full for execution. A lot of the game was just about individual skill. But the Olaf, it was banned previously. This time around, Robo's going to get a shot at it. You can do the Jarvan Thunderdome combo where you lock someone in with the Olaf.
Or lock him out.
Or lock him out.
Rage ping at your teammate.
Yep, Olaf's natural counter is a wall. Can't do it, hasn't been able to do it as long as he's been a champion. 2027, I'm sure they'll rework him and he'll have 6 dashes.
Hey,
but
Flash Ghost, man. Screw TP,
they're putting a lot of walls together to have an Olaf on their team. That's the only thing I will say. So again, we're in a situation where Loud has put a high burden of execution on themselves, and I respect it. But I am concerned.
They've opted into all this blind. We don't actually know what Kiaya is playing yet. Of course, this is a pretty frustrating composition to play against because if you take something range like a Gnar, let's say, if you go for that, yeah, you might be able to survive individually against Robo. You might be able to, as long as an axe doesn't land at you, play from range so you don't get chased down the whole lane. But then you're in mini Gnar when tons of resources are going to be flying up topside. That can help, like you said, lock the Gnar in with the Olaf, and then you have nowhere to go. So this is going to be a very high-pressure game on Kiaya here. They are sending all those resources top, most likely. Route and Sales going to be free-farming bot side, while Talia and Jarvan try to blow open the top side of the map is what this game plan is looking like.
Now, I think overall, Loud feel like they have a bit more of a stable composition. Certainly some more agency for Route in this game to follow up on the plays that his teammates are making rather than just having to be a sole backliner. GAM have a fantastic wombo combo with this Wukong, Gnar, Rel. It's super disgusting if they can make it work. And I'll be honest, looking at their regional games, they can make it work. So Loud going to have to play with a certain level of respect, be diligent on their vision control. This is a game where I expect one team will just take over in the early game because we haven't really seen a close early game from these teams yet. It's been super dominant from one side or the other.
No, and once again, it's a similar story as the previous game where Loud will have a lot of the tools in their back pocket to do that early game, however they want to do it. And it will be reactions coming out of GAM. The difference is where that pressure is going to be going. A lot of it was on the bot side. The Atrix was on the weak side, just trying to survive. This time around, it's all going to be going to the top side. So different location of the game plan, but largely still a similar game plan of wanting to snowball early. Because if you're not able to do that, Olaf is going to have a really tough time team fighting into the rest of GAM.
Yeah. Tricky, tricky, tricky. I think it's tough when we come to a game like this. I think the best thing you can do as a fan and as a viewer is kind of reset expectations after that game one. We can't account for more mechanical misplays. Let's assume that everyone's coming back full steam ahead. If it happens, it happens. But I think that was kind of the biggest question coming out of game one. It's like, yeah, you can run it back. You can pick a composition that's high execution, but we're going to be skeptical.
And to be fair, both these teams have had moments that are brilliant, moments that come up short. GAM in their first series with that Baron buff, get caught out in the bot lane, game's over, and you never know what's going to happen. So I think this is a very interesting game to see how it's going to go.
And while this game is full of unknowns, one thing that's not unknown is what you will get if you connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming. You're going to get an exclusive emote. It's experimentation. So do that.
Heimerdinger fans,
guaranteed input, guaranteed output, unlike League of Legends. Solo queue, you queue up, are you guaranteed to get LP? No, not so much. If you link your Prime account,
I'm guaranteed to be upset when I play
Solo queue. True.
Guaranteed to a rage flash.
Ooh,
when
that's
I get
important.
No, I'm not.
No, it's not. Don't do that.
Toxic. No,
Obey the summoner's code.
Is that still a thing? I haven't made a new account in a while to see what the process is.
What do you mean? You have one account. Surely you wouldn't smurf.
Surely no one has other accounts.
No, we all have one account. And that's how it works. Robo on the top side, ready to contest a top side red buff start that is not happening.
I thought he might be just going to steal it away. They had enough vision down where they have a ward to know that there's no one up there. It does take some time, doesn't have teleport, but you can do some cheeky stuff with those level 1s on Olaf if you want to just steal a red buff away, get low, run back into the lane, and use the red buff to heal up as well. Like, you can do some of that stuff, but not wanting to go full send on that cheese. Instead, just shows back up in the lane to get this XP right away.
An awkward early lane. See if Robo, who has not opted to take a TP, instead opting for the Ghost, can get something done here. Olaf in the early game, if he hits axes and is willing to burn through that entire mana bar, as we might see right here, can just obliterate you in the early trades. But a whiffy on that axe is costing him.
Still not too bad. If you can land the axes, you can chase them down. You can proc the bone plating to make sure that you have the ability in the future to actually go ahead and do that. So I do like playing the matchup aggressively like that. You're going to trade back, but of course, Olaf, when he gets lower, actually gets bonuses for getting low. So you're mind controlling him into hitting you.
Are you telling me you're rewarded for losing trades?
Those are my favorite kind of champions.
Me too. The only ones I can play. Cough, cough, Neela, cough, cough. Neela sent him. Very good. Anyway, early jungle pathing, red buff advantage, quick flash out from Levi. And again, Croc in these early levels, doing good, leveraging his champion's early strengths well. Keep it going, Croc. Don't lose track. Don't get lost in the sauce.
I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. We talked about the pressure that's going to be on the top side of the map and how it's going to be going to Robo, but you can also use that pressure to go for invades, and Jarvan is an exceptionally good champion at that. You burn Levi's flash. Not like Wukong is a super proactive pre-6 jungler anyways, but just putting him on the back foot, putting him behind, getting that red buff away. Tinowns, I think, had the inside track there before Kati got this shove now. So you can see them working together now. A 3-man pincer.
This is some clean League of Legends. You get bot prio, you got jungle advantage, you're going to flash and you get the slow first. Now trying to go for the knock-up, going to fish for the knockback. But Kati just knowing against flash and safety, and instantly EQ in, the flick back. Oh my god, Loud! That was clean as hell.
The patience out of the Loud members to just run them down. Croc landing the W slow. I love it. Flash W on top and hold your EQ for the actual stun so he can't flash your CC. That was really, really well done.
Same thing in the Ahri game where they just walk at you menacingly and it's like burn your disengage ability or die. And in this case, he burned his disengage ability and died. Fantastic from Loud.
Did cost some resources, but something you're absolutely happy to do. Put this Syndra on the back foot. It's one of those areas where if you can break the Talia out and she's roaming all over the map, influencing these other lanes, that's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to get trapped in this lane phase versus the Syndra. And now, eventually, they'll be able to get this up to the top side. Really, really great play out of Croc and Sales. The combination there looked incredible.
Yep. And again, credit to Loud. A lot of these early games so clean. Leveraging whatever pressure point they have. In this game, it was top lane, and last game it was bot lane to invade, to put pressure on Levi, who has been playing a lot of these level 6 junglers to slow him down, transition that pressure into the mid lane, and in this case, 2 games in a row, essentially do the exact same play, but flipped, coming from the top side instead of the bottom side, finding that kill in the mid lane, setting themselves up for early success. The name of the game now, and the question on many Louds fans' minds, I'm sure, is can they transition it into something more?
And this is something as a fan that can be extra frustrating when you see the high points and end up in winning positions to then later fall out of them. It's not just we weren't good enough or we got rolled the whole time. It's this like bitter regret of we could have won that game 1. We could be 1 game up right now and on the verge of moving to the promotion match into the main stage, the advancement match, excuse me, tomorrow.
It feels like a promotion.
You did a good job, you get a promotion.
Yeah.
The myth.
Ooh. That's going to be an interesting field topic. We're going to save that one.
You don't want to touch that one? You don't like
Nope.
that hot potato I threw at you?
No, no. You know, I'll leave that one for somebody else to touch on. Tinowns touching on these minions, pushing them in. Making his way down mid is Robo. Just going to heal up and wander back top lane. Looks like a frozen wave. I imagine Kiaya will start to push in soon, but an early boots too is no surprise. Force Kiaya to most likely do the same. And all is quiet across the map.
Level 6 coming in from Tinowns, though, does mean that this is the part of the game where you will hopefully start jumping on top of Kiaya, or at least comboing with Jarvan in some capacity to make a play. Here this is yet again. Going to take another look at this one. Like we said, just really heads-up play. If you EQ in first, you get buffered out of it by Kati's E, so you just flash W and start autoing with red buff. That gives also a gap close for Seos to land up for the Ignite, and finally Kati has to flash away, and that's when you do your EQ combo. So just super, super well done. Love seeing that out of the team. Heads-up play, knowing what the enemy's options are and covering all of them.
Yeah, and there was really no right choice for Kati there. I think maybe even the flash you could debate he didn't need to burn just to kind of accept his fate. Because the second the Rakan W's in, you're essentially saying, all right, use your ability now, or Jarvan will EQ after. So as long as you have 2 forms of CC there is actually no counterplay for Kati. There's nothing that can be done as long as Loud don't accidentally stack their abilities.
Or horribly miss them. Yeah.
Or horribly miss them. This one ability goes wide, but the Flag and Drag will not. Pallet still standing. Slayder firing back here. Some good use of the feathers as Tinowns spotted out by Levi. Early Talia damage solid, but not nearly enough to find a burst kill there.
Yeah, it's still nice by Levi to kind of spot him out, make sure that there's no wall coming in to show up on the bot side, turn that in from a 3v2 to a 4v2. And Kiaya doing a good job keeping up with Robo. Robo's still getting all the CS, of course, but having pressure in this matchup that we thought would be maybe a little tough. Well, and get the counter pick, but
the big thing right now is Kiaya just really wants to shove this wave in. He has not had a chance to back yet. This is big. Immediate ult now coming in, forcing the flash out. Traded for Ghost. Heads up play from Robo, knowing he has the item advantage. Despite being at a health discrepancy, Olaf's still an absolute terror. And Kiaya not backing sooner, costing him pretty dearly in that exchange.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that wave in, greeting out for a little bit, gets punished. And this is one of those compositions where for Loud, tracking enemy flashes is absolutely massive, knowing if you can just hop on in there and blow all your cooldowns, blow somebody up. And now that Kiaya has no flash, this puts him on a 5-minute window where he has to be very aware of any time Tinowns dips out of vision to the top side of the mid lane, because at any moment he can come flying up there, cut you off, and if your E is going to get burned early, you have no other escapes.
Something that has to be respected, and something that I'm curious to see if Loud are going to be able to capitalize on. Tinowns, once again, he has mid prio, has recently recalled, so can just start to wander towards the top side of the map, and look at that. Not even a minute later, they're ready to punish, and Kiaya, he wants to go place a little bit of vision. The rocks are already laid down. There's nowhere for him to go, but the flip back takes him away, and he can just hop over the wall. So, philosophy correct. Execution / damage output not significant. His route is now going to be in trouble here. Clean sidestep comes in. Shattering Strike instantly cleansed. Little Captain Jack there just to make it out.
Not quite a Captain Jack. I think I saw one frame of stun.
All right. Calm down. No one even knows who that is, so I can make that reference free. I could just say anything's a Captain Jack. 80% of our viewership has no idea what that means.
That would pass by most people's Captain Jack. Technically, it was very, very clean, of course, just nitpicking a little bit. And it's cool because there was a thread on Reddit actually talking about how many people remember that. I'll save that because there's a dive coming in.
Ooh, Flag and Drag with the flash to extend. Kiaya now in trouble. There's nowhere for him to go. He hops, skips, jumps, and dies, but he will get one back in return. Questionable, a little bit of a fumble there. But ultimately, while Jarvan does give up his life, and that gold is going to be nice for Kiaya to have, he's got no TP, which means free time for the tower for Mr. Broloff, who will grab 2 plates.
Absolutely still worth it. You're able to get the kill, and then the assist gold over, so it's a little bit more than just a 1-for-1 trade, plus denying all the minions, plus getting the turret plating down. Still worth it. Could have been a little bit more optimal if Robo, I think, tanked tower first. Jarvan's EQ flash being committed there means that he has no way out, but the knockup was clean. They get the kill, and like we said, absolutely still worth it.
Yeah, Gnar put behind in this matchup. Gonna feel pretty bad, most certainly. We'll see what the early itemization is for Olaf. How aggressive, how lane-focused is it? It looks like we're just gonna go Hydra.
The nice thing about trading Flash for Ghost as well, if you're playing the Olaf side of this matchup, is once that's going to be a faster cooldown for you, so you can just do that again, and then you have your Flash to follow his Flash later on. It becomes very difficult from behind for the Gnar to survive this matchup, especially if they're able to break the turret, so it becomes an even longer lane. Anytime you step forward, Robo can effectively chase you down if you have those summoners mismatched. So this is the game plan, once again for Loud, going extremely well.
Yeah, and this is part of the reason we saw the Olaf banned away. You know, one of these niche picks that can disrupt the flow of the game so well. Robo playing it well thus far, getting the support from his team to punish, and Kiaya still finding decent trades, but it's hard. If you don't kill him on the all-in, he's going to heal up so quickly. He's got the Dorans, plus the Vamp Scepter, plus natural Olaf kit, so Kiaya has to be ready to go all in, ready to pull the trigger, but Robo just walks up. You see CC immune, immediately just flashes on top of him. Bit of a fumble though, and the axe not quite connecting, and now, ooh, instant knockback, Kiaya. Oh, he's dancing on him. This should not be allowed. What is this Gnar doing? He's just killing 2 grown-ass men on the top side of the map. Look at that Yordle go.
You're not trapped in here. I butchered the quote already. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Kiaya surviving the instant Gnar ultimate as the J4 ult came through. Robo's ultimate timed out as well, so he was not CC immune. He got stunned up on the Jarvan wall there, and then that allowed Kiaya to turn that 2v1 around.
This man was assembled alternatively. He was built different. Shuts the play down, and what was a strong power point for Loud is now a lot harder, and Olaf is still stronger in the 1v1, but Gnar is sitting pretty now, getting closer to the Triforce, buying more and more components. The trades are going to be easier. So this is the first dive that comes through where he is able to get that kill back. And this, you know, while it does cost the Jarvan, as you highlighted, pretty well executed from Loud. Pretty straightforward, pretty clean.
Yeah, ideally, Robo takes her first, Jarvan survives, you drop the Herald afterwards. Here's the second one where the axe missing lets the ultimate time out there, which then allows the Gnar ult to kill Robo, or at least stun him against the wall so then you can kill Croc and then chase down with the double buffs onto Robo as well. That axe missing was critical there. They might still struggle to get the kill anyways, but at least with the ultimate timing out, it becomes a lot easier for Kiaya to turn that one around.
Yeah.
Oof. Big oof.
That was the perfect Gnar series of plays. They're hitting you when you're mega. They're trying to run away from you when you're mini.
Yeah.
You got everything you want. Like, that is the picture-perfect Gnar moment. You get to ult 2 into the wall, built by the Jarvan. It's awkward. It's awkward when your teammate brings the steel chair into the ring, and then your opponent uses the steel chair that your opponent brought.
I love how many wrestling puns we're making for the fact that neither of us watched.
I don't know either. It's so great. Conceptually, it's great. I just didn't have access to it as a kid. As Robo, he's getting walked on. Walk forward.
Getting killed.
And he's shielding, and he's dead. And again, the reason that doesn't look super cool and flashy is because Gnar built an advantage in a play that absolutely did, and now he just gets to run top lane.
And this is similar to game 1. The wheels came off a little bit earlier, a little bit more dramatic this time around, where Kiaya, as that focus point early on where they wanted to snowball this game, is now suddenly able to win the 1v1, especially when he had that red buff. But now at 4-1-0, probably has Triforce on this back and will be well ahead of the Olaf and continue to just kind of control the side lane. And suddenly, Tinowns has to find other places to make plays on the map, maybe around bot lane, but that can be difficult against the Xayah.
Well, and you're in a position now, as for Loud, where you need to start getting very creative with this Olaf, because the lane dominant version of this Olaf has now failed. So you need to find a way to abuse this kit elsewhere on the map, because you're not going to get it in the 1v1, which is a tricky tricky thing to do. And I gotta say, a lot of people, you know, with all the Adam memes, they're going, Garen is the G in gods. I think Gnar here is, I don't know.
Olaf is the O in dogs as well. It's the other version of that meme that we haven't seen too much talked about. And there you see it. Not many buttons. You either run in and murder the person or you die is usually how Olaf is played. And that's why, like you said, trying to find ways to use this kit from behind in other places than the lane can be very, very difficult, or at least in 1v1s. That's kind of what you're built for, is not being able to be stopped with your ultimate.
Yeah, and I think if you treat the Olaf with respect, the Olaf will look useless for the rest of the game as you take a look at the match card, the lane economy snapshot. But Olaf is a champion, similar to the Darius, Garen, a lot of those other picks that we're talking about that have been showing up in Adam's champ pool, and now other champ pools as well, as Robo, very much known for this Olaf. These are champions that if you forget about their impact or disrespect them, can still do a lot of work in team fighting.
And flashing back to game 1, we memed about the snapshot looking not that bad for Robo, but he was actually getting trashed in that game as well. So it's a little surprising to see the game plan flip up to there, which seemed to be one of the strong points for GAM. And say, hey, this is now going to become our win condition. Not just we're going to put a little bit more resources into him, but this is the primary strategy of our composition. And Kiaya showing, hey, probably not a good idea to attack me.
Yeah.
Maybe you focus on other parts of the map that you were winning earlier, such as the bot lane.
Yeah, and I feel for Tinowns, who had a pretty solid Ahri game outside of that one hiccup where he just kind of wandered past Huracan. It's tough for him now, because he really needs to be the one that can do a lot of this damage while Route is farming until Route has, 1 or 2 items, which he's getting closer to. Still quite a ways away from the Navori Quick Blades, but at least has the BF sword. He needs to be the one that does the damage here, because the Jarvan's not super far ahead and the Olaf is not ahead, so that burst is going to have to come from him.
Does feel difficult when Route once again becomes the guy who's supposed to win you the game in the mid to late game. Of course, Tinowns can help down the frontline members, but there's so much engaged, there's so much damage on the enemy team that even if you dodge out on the rail, here comes the Wukong, or watch out for them fishing with stuns, and oh, is that a Gnar getting Mega? I guess I gotta back up. There's all these tools available for GAM now that we're heading into the grouping portions of the game that you can see Loud doesn't even want to contest it. They're saying, okay, yeah, that Rift Herald's yours. And when did you decide now is the time to group, when you're already on the back foot against a team that's going to scale better than you?
It's a tricky question. It's a hard thing to navigate. And for Loud, we'll just hope that they can figure it out and they can solve the puzzle. So Robo just taking a bit of a chunk here. In the 1v1 with ultimate, he can still do work against the Syndra. Has to be careful about when he chooses to ult, but Route and the rest of Loud taking control of the mid lane. Looks like they're trying to set up for Drake here. 5 seconds left till the Chemtech. It's 1 Drake apiece. Neither side able to grab both of the early Drakes.
Yeah, Kati has TP, so able to finish farming that out. Grab his Oblivion Orb, interestingly, going for that second.
There is Gore Drinker. There's an Olaf. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't hate it. I know there's always the debate about
like who should get healing reduction, or do you mean the debate about how good is healing reduction?
How good is healing reduction? I feel like LS and I accidentally bullied the designers into improving the tooltip on healing reduction while talking about regen not being cut and stuff like that, because
of Second Wind. Was that last year?
That was last year's champion, where Silas would build,
every melee mid laner would have Second Wind and Doran's, and you'd heal like 200 health in the.
Yeah, exactly. So people were rushing Oblivion Orb, and there was a whole debate. And it's still a bit of a debate, but I think here, maybe depending on the gold, and you're feeling like, hey, if we just crush them in one of these mid-game fights, it's over, and Loud has no way back in the game, and this is the best single PowerPoint item I can get potentially for a mid-game team fight.
And interesting, GAM, despite having priority there, didn't opt to go for the Drake. Instead, Can use their Herald to try to break in mid lane, seeing the Olaf is not in the area. The Crash plus the extra few autos should be able to clear this out. Wall coming in to stop them from going through is a nice heads-up play. It'll at least stop the mid lane tower from breaking. Olaf does now have a flanking angle, but he will be spotted on some vision. GAM, are they feeling confident enough to pull the trigger on this objective? Excellent use of the Void Seeker will spot out Kati.
Yeah, Olaf is in the flank, and I think GAM is at least partially aware of it. I don't think he's exactly spotted out quite now. You can see a question mark thing, assuming correctly where he is, but GAMmer seemed content to take this one relatively slow. I thought they would have forced this objective a little bit harder and found someone to turn onto.
I guess their read is that they are not as strong. And Loud seem to share that read now as they kind of bully their way into position here.
Yeah, to be fair, the gold lead is about equal. The Dragons are equal as well.
Shotting Croc, and more than enough to come through there. Kiaya now unstoppable, just going to start to run forward. Flick back, disengage is there. GAM should just be able to take the objective for free. Robo still hovering around the bottom side of the pit, but damage graph came up a little bit late, so I think Kati only got partial credit there for that unleashed power.
Yeah, and there you see it. Very clean, easy play. As Loud step forward, you're able to land some chunk damage down, stun him up, blow up Croc, with no smite available, very easily taken there. And I can respect this. You know, GAM is not under pressure to force the Dragon. We're saying, I thought they could start it. They could do this or that. They don't need to because they can just play this one slow.
Okay, they're going to try to lock him up. A nice flash out. Robo flashing to commit. This is crazy. This is very over-aggressive. They're going to try to make this work, but Robo's dead. That was a little sunken cost fallacy moment there. They had committed the ulti, decided to commit the flash as well.
Yeah, that one reeks a little of desperation. Loud's wheels are well and truly off at this point. Not able to contest the objective. Your jungler drops for free. You try and punish someone on the exit of the objective take. You end up still running into the members who have also not finished exiting yet. Ends up in a 2v3 situation. Here you see it just Croc wanting to walk forward to get that E down over the wall for vision, puts him in range for that stun combination. Well punished by Kati on his most played from Summer Split. And then here, like we said, you know, the objective's being finished off. You're trying to get this cheeky little kill maybe if Sales was a little closer and you could lock him up in the lane. But then by the time you're flashing over the wall into people that you just saw finish the Dragon is definitely an overcommitment at that point. You could have been happy to just chunk out the Gnar and get his fun.
Ooh, nice flash from Tinowns. Good reaction speed. The flick not quite going to connect on the Kati there. Black Cleaver now finished from the Gnar. Kiaya getting stronger and stronger as Croc's once again on the top side. Yeah, and these are the things, it's tough because I get the blood in the eyes moment as the Olaf there. If you can get on top of your target, if you can stick on top of a target, maybe you can turn it around. That is the power of this pick, no matter how far behind it is, but it's a little bit too squishy. Got cut down. And again, for Loud, can't afford to have many more moments like that in this game because Slayder is continuing to scale up while essentially being part of very little of this game. And you still have Kiaya to worry about. The combo, the execution is so easy for GAM as we get later into the game. Yes, Talia can disrupt it with the Unraveling Earth, but not quite as simple for Loud as it is for GAM once again.
No, it does feel like at this point, it's only 1,000 gold lead that's going to continue to inflate rapidly as the outer turrets start to drop.
It's been spotted. Ooh, not quite able to catch the same Blast Cone Express.
A little cheeky look there from Robo. I appreciate he's not giving up. Yeah, completely stepped off the gas here. Still trying to make plays, but like we said, the map pressure is completely on GAM's side now. They just dropped the top turret. They're grouping up a little bit here around mid to finish this one off. Already weakened by the Rift Herald charge, this 5-man push. A little bit ahead of the play. No minion wave here yet.
Yeah, and we're in this awkward period where neither side has such a commanding gold lead that anyone can really go for Baron. I think it's a bit bold for either side. That said, GAM, both sides have a pretty good Baron clear. Obviously, Kaisa passive and Xayah Feathers, once they have 2 items, are going to be strong. And currently, Rout is ahead. We talked about Rout being the center of attention for this team. He is at 2 items. He has an item advantage. There is a world where they can find a fight and leverage this strength. As Levi's getting poked out here. But it is difficult as both sides mostly are just squaring up. Like, I feel like we've been stuck at the weigh-in portion of this MMA bout for quite some time.
Yeah, they are staring each other down in the NA realm, just clenching fists at each other, being like, if you go on me, I'll knock you out. But then they both just agree to go back to their side waves, push them again. There's no neutral objectives really on the table. Yes, Baron is up, but it's something that neither team is in the position to force down. And neither team's side lanes particularly well. Of course, if Robo is way ahead and he's chasing the Gnar up these long lanes, like we said, great. And from ahead, Gnar can kind of do the same thing, but both are just kind of content to trade waves and then group.
Yep. That's one of the nice things, especially about the Ravenous Olaf, obviously. Aside from the sustain, is you just delete waves so quickly. So you don't have to interact. You can just Show up, delete layup, get the hell out, steal a Gromp. And you can see, support's just hanging out. Pallet lives in this brush now. He pays rent here. Very expensive. They marketed it as a studio apartment. It is not.
It's a closet.
it's a literal bush in a river.
You show up, the listing had a beautiful picture of some other property that is adjacent to it.
Beautiful lakeside views. I was like, oh, we meant literally in the river.
It's literally a swamp. You get to stay in.
Not great. That water is not clean. Robo going to walk in. He's going to get some damage down, but that Nara's getting out because he's got no CC, and it looks like the trumpet has been sounded. It is time to get on that Baron. Levi going to clear out the vision. And Slayder, 2 items. Again, Navori Quickblade Zaya eats neutral objectives.
Interesting to see them not actually commit to this. Of course, Robo having no teleport means if you ever wanted to use that to hop away and brute force the 4v5, they could have done it, but GAM, again, being slightly more risk-averse here, and I think showing that the VCS is not just the jump into the enemy team, fight them.
All I would say is if you watch this region's playoffs, half of the games end with one team 50-50ing a Baron. So, sometimes they like the risk, and right now they're going to flip it. GAM did coming in to split the team. 3 members in the pit. This is an opportunity for Loud. Do they feel confident to pull the trigger? Now retreating. The wall is faded away. Bit of a waste, gotta say. But they've at least zoned GAM away, stopped them from taking the Baron, but not seeing that as a window of opportunity to start a fight. Croc has seen this as a window of opportunity to take a jungle camp, which he has no business taking. Croc, what are you doing? Why are you there? GAM now stepping forward. Robo next on a long list of people who are just going to get taken out before this Baron gets started. GAM can turn back. It is now a jungle-less contest coming in from the side of Loud.
Now, no jungler to do it. We'll see if they can win the fight. Still a lot of resources available to do so.
Knockback onto Tinowns is big. Immediate follow-up. Now the counter engage coming through. Shales into the backside is huge. Trying to get a little more damage. Slayder, Feather's going to fly right back up into the air. Route. Ulti available. Can just look to try to re-engage, but he doesn't have a mark on any key targets. And Kiaya now playing bouncer, playing bodyguard for the rest of his waiting backline. There are so many blinking health bars.
I'm surprised they didn't go harder there. They were so close to finding so many kills. Everyone was low. Robo gets finished off in the backline, and the whole time I'm waiting for Route's ultimate.
I thought he was going to go in and kill like 2 people.
I don't know if there was no plasma stacks on them, but he didn't feel like he was chasing as aggressively forward as I would have expected even in that situation. Even if you're not going to have your ultimate available, you still have your flash.
And I kind of want to see, because I think you might be right in that, you know, we can criticize him assuming there were plasma stacks, that he could have jumped in and killed 2 people, exchanged his life, but we can see this initial play, and Croc, I want to love you for your early games, man, but this is the most consistent part of your gameplay thus far this day.
Even in the player camp, you saw him put his hands on his head, immediately recognizing the mistake. They did burn a ton of ultimates to kill him here, and that's why I was surprised to see GAM go for this really aggressive turn here, because you don't have that many summoners up. And then Route here, go! That was one of the times. I think Route has had an incredible tournament there. It was initially scary. There were feathers on the ground. He didn't want to run forward and get rooted up. But I still think you got to get a little bit more aggressive there, because you are losing this game. You are getting outscaled. You're not going to get back into it by just playing slow and safe. You need to, at some point, pull the trigger on a risky play and just outhands the other person. With flash available, you can ult into the back line, land a Q, flash forward, do some of this stuff, go invisible, do Kaisa things. That might have been the angle.
You know, quick math off the top of my head, Kaisa Q does 1 million damage. Everyone there had 100 health. I feel like you're killing at least 1 person. Not sure if that math checks out, but that's the general sentiment is now Robo going to be forced to use the ult defensively, and once again, Levi now finds his way into the back line. Route flashing out to safety. He saved it in the last fight, and it pays off here as he buys himself a bit more time, but the fight still turning against them. GAM, 3 members instantly deleted. Now it is time for Baron. No longer a 50-50, no longer a risk, an easy take here.
Yeah, that might have been the moment. The previous Baron startup where Loud could have found their way into the game. GAM punishes them for having that slight moment of hesitation here, camping the brush, but you're an Olaf. You don't camp brushes particularly well. No hard CC, no way out, and so that leaves him forced to ult to get away after Kati was over the wall and the rest of the team collapses, just annihilates the back line. Fight instantly split apart, no way out.
And this is tough. I was feeling optimistic for Loud after the last time these 2 teams faced. Yes, they got away with murder in that game too, but game was pretty solid. Across the board, Route looking good, but I think he is going to look back on that team fight where he didn't ult in. And I understand wanting to keep your zones, but I think he's going to see that as a missed opportunity to potentially turn a game. Because as we said, it doesn't get easier if you don't fight. It's only getting worse now.
Yeah, I'm thinking at this point with the Baron buff down, 4K gold lead in the enemy team's favor, not going to have too many ways to try and get back into this.
And I will say, credit to Slayder. Coming in this matchup, I thought Route was heavily favored, but Slayder doing incredibly well in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. Of course, Route versus Slayder. Both stars for their teams, but Slayder, I think GAM not quite as reliant on him often, whereas Route has been kind of the end-all, be-all in many of these loud games, and despite that, Slayder's still showing up big today.
And I think it's a good redemption story for him, as well as the VCS #1 seed as a whole. If you cast your minds back to MSI, where they were unceremoniously eliminated, they brought in Slayder to help shore up some of those weaknesses. And yes, while day one was not it, since then he has done a lot better job, and he is helping the VCS #1 seed potentially advance now to a finals rematch. If you remember, Team Wales is waiting on the other side. That is the winner that they will have to face if they advance here out of GAM, and a chance for redemption given that they already beat this team domestically to come out as the #1 seed. And it's going to be a very interesting rematch if they can pull that off to then potentially advance to the Swiss stage.
Yeah. I mean, Slayder versus Artemis.
Heyo.
Incredible. That's like, especially now with Slayder performing better, Artemis has looked like one of the best, I think probably the best carry in play-ins thus far.
Best marksman?
Best marksman in
Probably?
play-ins thus far? Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 80 carry is what I mean by that, not overall carry.
Yep.
Here we are, GAM. Deja vu from game one. Same sides, similar situation. Slowly, surely sieging in. This time around, though, Kiaya on the Gnar. It's a lot more free time. Just step up here.
Yep, using the Baron buff up that cannon minion to pelt down the turret. Nice 4-1 setup here out of GAM. Don't have quite as many global tools available like they had in the previous game. Just doing a good job making sure that Kiaya plays safe in the mid lane while the 4-man tries to sync the waves here. I like this. Waiting for the mid lane and the bot lane to crash at the same time, though Pallet.
Bit of knock up. Pallet gonna make it out to safety. Nice chunky shield coming in there as Gnar is finally gonna hit on the top side tower. About 2 waves were just deleted there by that top lane tier 2, so more money. Whoa! Is now Croc getting the engage. Theo's ready to follow up. Robo, he's being countered by the wall. They need to take it down so the all can get in, but it might just be too late because Levi's here to turn around. Slayder uncontested. Support down. And Levi goes again. The second stack of the ultimate. Robo desperate to turn this one back, but they do so much damage. And in goes Slayder. Looking to make a montage route. This is your time to shine, buddy. Whatever opportunities you might have had earlier in the game that could have been better, that could have been cleaner, that could have been prettier are gone now. If you want to turn it, see it. Doesn't want to take the risk. Doesn't want to go in. Doesn't have flash.
I don't know. Looking a little tough here. I would have expected the all-in send. The rest of the team is in there. Just go flying in. Press the R button. Get the shield. Try and make something happen. Not going to do it this time around. And it allows the rest of GAM to kite forward so safely. Punishing Croc after that hard engage in there. They find these kills. They're trying to close the game forward. Slayder feeling himself with the flash forward there. Having a very good game, 7-1-0. Like we said, redemption coming up big for him.
Yeah. And it's only getting harder. Doesn't sound allowed. And again, you never know in games like this. You can always, someone can get over aggressive, over eager. GAM, if they have more confident flashes forward, maybe in more precarious situations, there's an opportunity for Loud to turn. And certainly they still found a couple moments in the previous game, but there was just too big of a gold discrepancy by the time they did, and it might be a similar story in this one as well.
I mean, if you're tracking your ultimate timers, or excuse me, flash timers here, at least you can see that GAM has burned almost everything in that last exchange, and while they did get a lot of kills, they didn't break any inhibitors or even inhibitor turrets, so there's a bit of breathing room here for Loud. Down 9K, you know, to turn this game around here with the flash advantage, able to maybe delete one person on GAM's side if you find a clean engage, but that is the most copium you'll be huffing today, most likely.
Well, and you know, I think this is tough if you're a Loud fan. Because, you know, game one, you know, was rough. You built a lead, but this game has just been mostly domination. And it sucks to watch a game for 10 more minutes when you know that it's over already. So I hope for Loud and for the fans of Loud's sake, they get to put up one final fight. Maybe bring us to a game 3. I think that's a tough task, but at least have one good, clean fight and show us that they can go toe-to-toe with GAM.
I think this is the time to do it when the next Baron spawns in 40 seconds. Loud will have to contest that. GAM has no flashes this time around. If they pin themselves up against some walls, if you know, Kati messes up his combo this one time, or maybe Slayder's a little slow on the ultimate and Croc's knockup lands, maybe you can 100-0 someone this time around, but it is going to be difficult because GAM is checking all the boxes, putting wards out into the enemy jungle right before it spawns, keeping these waves pushed up during this time, so if Loud do want to contest, they have to walk so plainly through vision.
Yeah. And diligence and patience, I think, has been one of the biggest winning characteristics here in play-ins. You saw it in BDS yesterday, you're seeing it in GAM now. Getting these leads and just playing it out slow, playing it out clean, leaving as little room for the enemy team to find opportunities. And sometimes that'll cost you in a game of League of Legends where you're not capitalizing on your lead enough, but the luxury of GAM's composition and the incredible scaling that they have and the Wombo comp is, if you play clean, if you play disciplined, you're favored in just about every situation.
And even this, so heads up, knowing that you don't need to commit 5 people to do it, like you're talking about with how easily Xayah shreds Baron. Just have Kiaya tank it. Jungler playing zoning duty, everyone playing zoning duty, finish off the Baron. No contest even possible out of Loud.
Yeah, and I think that GAM, you talked about the flash cooldowns earlier, clearly not making any big, bold plays at this stage of the game. Diligent, and again, careful around the Baron, but not going for anything crazy, not going for over-aggressive engages. Can just wait for those flashes. Now have the Baron buff. In the duration of the Baron, the flashes will be up and available, and then if they want to go for an aggressive dive or try to find some of these picks, they absolutely can.
Yeah, they also have the Dragon swanning in 2 minutes, Dracos. Maybe they get a Martini, they take it slow, you know, they're chilling this whole time. I would personally love to see them dive and kill the enemy team.
Yeah, again, as a play-by-play, at a certain point you're just making noise with your mouth to fill the space of nothingness in a game like this.
No, I mean, I think did a good job hitting the beats about how this is going to be redemption
for
GAM.
The story.
MSI redemption arc here. Slayder stepping in.
Yeah, we need to see if there's another chapter here or if the book is already over.
This is that filler arc, you know?
Yeah.
Anime is waiting for the manga to put more out, so you have to go on some random
the beach
adventure.
Trip,
Yeah.
Go get a couple Caprese martinis. Caprese? I don't know how you pronounce that. Ask Andrew.
No idea.
Favorite drink. Yeah, here we are. Slow siege. At a moment's notice, GAM can pull the trigger, or Loud could. But for Loud, they need more than just a good recon engage to find this one.
Route did just finish off his 4th item there. Has armor pen now to punch through the Randuin's own in Kiaya.
Slayder marked up. Croc, maybe he finds an opportunity. Stun coming through, forced to flash out already. Slowly but surely, GAM move in. The wall behind them, but GAM do not care.
Easily stepping up, hitting this inhibitor. At some point, Loud, with the wall already committed, you think they're just going to have to go. Otherwise, GAM will just do this two or three more times with this Baron buff. Just walk up, hit your inhibitor, take it in front of your face. The game gets worse and worse from there. There's no point in time where it's going to get easier to make these sorts of plays happen for Loud. And if you're just assuming that GAM is going to walk too far forward for no reason, that is a bold bet to make.
I mean, the good news, honestly, and again, Cloud, silver lining, whatever, but if we go to a point in the game where Elder is on the board, that is where GAM have not pushed their advantage enough, because the only way you lose a game with this massive an advantage, in my opinion, short of catastrophic misplays or outplays from the opposing team, is Elder getting stolen from you. That amount of combat power nullifies a ton of gold leads. And that said, that's 6 minutes away.
I was going to say, Dracos is signing up for 6 more minutes of Phil.
I am. Maybe
Here
not.
we go.
Kiaya uninterested in Phil. The rock's coming through. He just sidesteps and kills him. GAM now going to break in. Kiaya godlike. Levi going to go forward, knowing he has the full power of his team backing up behind him. Route all or nothing now. An unfair task, certainly to put on one player's shoulders, but it's there all the same. GAM stepping in. Wave getting cleared, their due diligence. Kiaya flick back onto Croc. Croc trying to find the knockup. Route untouched to the backside for now. Maybe, just maybe they can get it done. Route continuing to auto left and right, but Levi just jumps right on top of him. He goes invisible. Kiaya still stepping in. There's just too many members standing. The damage is good, but it's not enough. GAM obliterating Loud, knocking them out of the tournament, securing themselves a spot in the best of 5, a chance to make it to the Swiss stage.
Revenge for the day 1-2-0. GAM takes Loud down this time around to stay alive in play-in stage. Playing tomorrow in a BCS Finals rematch versus Team Wales. Winner advances on to Swiss stage. The dream still alive for the BCS #1 seed.
Certainly is. And again, the turnaround in performance in such a short period of time. Respect to GAM. The discipline we saw, clearly learning from their last matchup versus Loud. Getting over-eager. It was almost painfully disciplined. I could have done with a little less discipline from a play-by-play casting standpoint, but a win is a win. And if you want to take the safest, most assured way to get there, I appreciate that, kid'em.
I also appreciate both VCS seeds when they win, the faces and actions that they make. Yeah, I forget who it is on Wales. He always does the frowny face. But they're always a treat to watch afterwards, feeling good for themselves. And I think they earned it. It was a very dominating win. Both times Loud opted into early games. Both 10 minutes were decent for Loud. They got their advantages, but could never convert. These guys were too clean with it. Able to cleanly win this 2-0.
And so frustrating for Loud, because again, I was excited about this team, and credit to Loud. This is, poor performance on the day. I don't want to chalk it up to anything more than that. I think it's probably unfair to the players, because it is just one day of League of Legends, but very frustrating. That said, our Oppo player of the series, none other than Kiaya. Damn. A Diffie in the Tiffy, safe to say. He didn't even play that pick. Building advantages for the team. Despite everything else on the map going wrong, he was the one trying to build advantages in the 1v1. This solo bolo in game 1 looking clean, and obviously the Gnar game. That turn, whoosh, I'm sure we're going to see it.
Yeah, we'll see it in a second here before some more plays on the Cassante. Was the strong point in game 1, giving them some place on the map that they were winning at least. And then in the mid to late game, while of course Kati and Slayder end up being the damage shots, he was still landing very nice Q3 knockbacks, setting the rest of the team up. Cassante doing Cassante things. It was a very, very good game, but it was game 2 that really earned him this one.
Again.
Not get there quite yet.
Here we go.
There it is.
Here we
the
go.
Timeout on the axe.
Look at the Mignar. He's got like 15 rage left.
Oh, it's like you don't even get the full animation because it turns back into mini.
Olaf fades away. It's like there's these moment in times where everything comes together for a flawless moment, and that was one of those moments. Yeah. This moment, on the other hand, is a heartbreaker for all the CB LOL fans and for all the Loud fans. Saying a final goodbye to the audience here in Korea. And again, not the series that they wanted to show today. And wish them nothing but the best of luck in the future. I won't be surprised if we see Loud in another international event. We'll see how they reform, come back stronger, I have no doubt. But after the break, CFO and BDS will be taking the stage, fighting against elimination. But first, let's check out some behind-the-scenes footage of yesterday's action, thanks to the Oppo King.
Hey guys, Crowny here after 2-0 against DFM. We're happy to have a better series than before, and we're just focused on our next, and we expect your support and you all to be there.
This is some clean League of Legends. You get bot prio, you got jungle advantage, you're gonna flash and you get the slow first. Now trying to go for the knockup, gonna fish for the knockback. Kati just knowing gets flash and safety, instantly EQ in, the flick back. Oh my god, Loud! That was clean as hell.
But I'll save that because there's a dive coming in.
Ooh, flag and drag with the flash to extend. Kiaya now in trouble. There's nowhere for him to go. He hops, skips, jumps, and dies. Robo just walks up. You see C immune, immediately just flashes on top of him. Bit of a fumble though, and the axe not quite connecting. And now, ooh, instant knockback. Kiaya. Oh, he's dancing on him. This should not be allowed. What is this Gnar doing? He's just killing 2 grown-ass men on the top side of the map. Look at that Yordle go.
A team against a king. Seeing against believing. A moment against a moment for the ages. Countless battles one arena, the realm. The only thing capable of powering the game, the stage, the broadcast, and the worldwide spectacle we know and love, aka the Cisco Network.
Bringing in a new roommate to save money, is that the plan?
Say hi to Glenn from work.
Yeah, I think I have a much better plan. We switched to my plan from Verizon.
That is a good plan. Glenn.
Get my plan starting at just $25 when you bring your own phones. Plus, save when you add perks like the Disney Bundle. It's your Verizon.
Unlock extra loot with the Worlds Event Pass. Every Event Pass purchase will add to the prize pool for Worlds 2023. There's a lot to celebrate at this time of year.
Huh? What is this?